Hey, did you tighten up today? This is the Two-Tone Takeover, and I am the Two-Tone Bandit, and this is a podcast for Tennessee Titans fans by a Tennessee Titans fan. I want you to pull up and represent that two-tone blue the way that you want to. This is a fan-based community. It's built just for us, a place where the fans can have a voice. And on today's episode, we'll be breaking down Borgonzi'S press conference, what we think about it, and what we take away from it. But before we do, I need you to lock in, like, share, subscribe, tighten the hell up, and now we can get into it. All right, y'all, we jumping straight into it. Coach, we got the infamous Coach Murphy here and just this infamous Bo B, the Houstonian, in the building. All right, we rocking out, man. The Two-Tone Takeover is actually taking over, man. Coming to a city near you, but nonetheless, I'm not going to waste too much time. We're here for Borgonzi'S press conference, so we're going to let the clip play, and we're not going to try to stop too much, try to keep it a fair balance. He's going to be asked a question. He'll answer it. And after his answers, we'll discuss our response to that, and we'll just keep it moving in that fashion. So without further ado, let's get started. Let's see. All right. There we go. Now.
Good morning. Good to see everybody. Before we get started here today, I just want to take a moment to speak on Coach Mack and the passing of Coach Mack. He had an impact on so many people in the National Football League, so many people within this organization, so many people in this room. He was passionate about this team, this organization in general, the city of Nashville. I had a lot of good conversations with Coach Mack over the past year, particularly on the practice field last year, just talking about life, football in general. Learned a lot from him, team building, culture, doing it with the right type of people, by a lot of people here. And just want to thank him for everything that he did for us. So thanks, Coach Mack. We're about a week out here from the draft. Excited here. I think the process has been really good, especially with the new coaching staff that we have here. I think the communication, collaboration between the scouts and the coaches has been phenomenal. Just discussing players and how these players are going to be used in our scheme now, the right type of players we want in here to continue to build in this locker room, to build the culture. A lot of people to thank. The scouts have done a tremendous job here over the past year, putting in all this work. Coaches during the spring here have put so much work in evaluating these guys, and we had finished up meetings here the last couple of weeks with our scouts and coaches. Going to wrap up here, meet with our medical staff again today. So feel really good about the process we've had. Want to thank a lot of other people too, the IT department, our analytics, for all the support that they've given us as we've gathered this information here, over the last couple of months. So when you feel good, you feel prepared. We could draft tonight if we had to. So I'll open up for questions.
I'm going to actually get y'all to jump in before they actually jump in and ask y'all, like, what do you think about just that statement right there? Just how do you, let me see, how do you measure, what you just heard this far? Well, at least the last part, like the genuineness. How confident are you in that we could draft right now if we want to? Like, we good to go. Like, just how do you feel? I want to address that statement because that was something that actually stood out to me. First off, you don't really hear that often from, GMs or anybody in the building, to be honest with you. So the fact he made that statement, I just kind of want to get some feedback on what y'all think about that, or how confident are y'all, or y'all just think that's a part of the smoke screen city, if you will.
Bo, you want to go first, bro?
You can.
I love it. Personally, I love it. It shows that he is ready, and I can actually feel that he's ready. There's a lot of stuff that he did say in these interviews that I do feel were smoke screens. But when he said that, I felt that in my bones. I felt it inside because it shows that all the prep that was leading up to this point, they weren't playing when it came to it. When it comes to it, I should say, they are not playing. They are ready, balls to the wall, ready to go, ready to make an impact on this team in the best way they can. Is just basically, as in the scouts, by putting the perfect pieces to the puzzle together, so our coaching staff can do what they got to do. So I love it. I feel it. It's real, and I'm excited. I'm definitely excited.
Yeah. Real quick, I just want to do a quick shout out to Coach Mac too. I'm gonna miss him from everything he did from the OTP, to everything he did on the radio shows. 104.5 The Zone. Love listening when he would come on those shows. Everything he did with the team. So I'll miss him on that voice, man. He did a lot of good stuff, and I love to hear him talk ball. But as far as this in general, I feel like they are confident in fit and plan A, B, C, all the way down to Z. They know what they're going to do depending on who falls to them at 4. He's got a very quiet confidence about it. The collaboration, like you talked about, between the players, between the coaches and the front office, they've run clearly through so many scenarios. I love when the season's over because he talks about them going into, that void where there's no windows and they just watch film on all these guys for days and days and days. And obviously we've only seen 1 year, but it seems to, be a good process for them because they found a lot of good players that we even weren't sure on last year with DK and Helm. Nobody expected us to get Helm when we did. So he's got a very quiet confidence about him. I think that they're very ready for their plan, whatever it is, whatever their options are, whoever falls to them, they know what they're going to do. And at least in the first round, and then from there, Borgo's said in, we'll hear him say it later, but he's going to be fluid about everything he does. He's not going to be stuck to one thing, square peg, round hole. He's going to be ready for multiple scenarios, but at least round 1, it seems like, they're ready to kick it off.
All right. Hey, I love it, man. I love it. I love it when, we just got people higher up that have that type of control that just feel confident in what they're doing. So we're going to jump into the first question and get this thing rolling.
Mike, do you think Jeremiah Love, even though he's a running back, he profiles to be a special running back? Do you think that that's something that would be worth a value of a high first-round pick, like, say, 4th overall?
I certainly think there's a cluster of players up there that we really like, but in particular, Jeremiah's, I think he's a special player. I've talked about this at the combine before. I think his speed, can do things out of the backfield as a receiver. But there's also a group of edge guys up there that are really good too. So I think we'll have some really good options there at 4.
All right, give me some feedback on that, y'all. How y'all feel about his response to that question? Does that give you more confidence in the direction we're going? Does it sound like they're giving it away? Does it sound like that diverting, or just your general take in general on what you feel about that?
You want me to go? Okay. The first thing I noticed is he only referenced one other position group. He didn't mention linebacker or Styles. He didn't mention receiver. He said edge, and then in comparison to Jeremiah Love, he could have mentioned other spots. He said there's a group of guys, and I get that. But it stuck out to me that the only other position he referenced with the Jeremiah Love question was edge. It could be smoke screens again. Like at this point, just point blank period, I don't trust the GM. They're lying through their teeth. Like no tomorrow, they're going to have cavities by the end of next week. So I don't trust a single thing they be saying. They purposely put things out there in these press conferences. They know what they're doing. They know what they're going to say. It's almost like, political responses. They know what they're doing. So, but it did stick out to me just in the fact that he only mentioned edges outside of the question Love. He could have thrown in other guys, and I know he gets asked about other guys later, but specifically he only mentioned edges outside of Love. It's stuff that he's already mentioned before, like he said. So we all know what Jeremiah Love can do, but that's the thing that, piqued my ears when he said that.
He's keeping his hands and he's keeping his cards in his deck. He's not going to let you know what's going on. We had GMs in the past, we had coaches in the past that it tilted a little bit too hard towards one direction compared to another. But when it comes to him, he seems extremely prepared, extremely confident, and extremely ready about this position that he's in right now as a general manager of the Tennessee Titans. As a fan, it's beautiful. As a scout, is like, I love this ish because it's like, this is stuff that I would do, and this is stuff that you're taught to do in different avenues. So it's extremely smart. I love it. It's cool to actually see him play the game because we're used to getting played so much, and he's actually playing the game, and he's a master at it already at his young age as being a general manager. And it's really uplifting as a fan to know we're in good hands because our GM is not or will not put us in a position to be unsuccessful. He won't uh, basically say, "Hey, let's jump up and take CJ and tell the world." We've seen that before. We have seen coaches get upset because GMs traded away their best players. I really feel confident in our general manager because he's playing the game the right way.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. Hey, but I don't have nothing to say. They said it all. What I'm supposed to say. They said it. That's exactly the same takeaway that I have from that. Let's keep it moving.
Slotting of salary come into play with who you pick or the position you pick?
I think you have to have all these discussions. But, at the end of the day, we always talk about taking the best player available at that point. So those discussions, premium positions versus non-premium, I mean, those are always talked about because you're always looking at your roster and your salary cap that we have to work with in forecasting your roster for this year, next year, the years coming. So certainly those are discussions that we do have.
Okay, so I just want to touch on that part because I think that's something I was speaking on one of the previous pods. Not sure if y'all were on it or not, but I was referencing next year's draft and just kind of the outlook. And I think one of the guys' rebuttal was that we don't know what's going on next year. You really can't talk about next year because we don't know. No one knows. But I feel like that's the case we don't know what's going to go on this year's draft. I mean, but I'm like, the best GMs are always going to have that outlook. I mean, you don't want a GM that can't look forward, and because that is how you find yourself in positions you don't want to be in. If you're allocating money and they looking at contracts and things, it would be wise to say, okay, where's our money? What do I project our finances looking like next year? Who will we target? Who would take do I need to make a maneuver? Do I need to move around? Do I need to target different position groups? I mean, to think ahead is actually conducive to the moves that you're making now. So I think that's great to think you kind of verified that for me that they do have that perspective, and it's just solidifying what I already feel about Borgonzi. But your takeaway from his future outlook on, just how he looked at that, just give me your feedback on it. I mean, are you with me? Do you have more to add to it? Do you see it differently? Or how do you feel about it?
I referenced this before, but I can't remember where, but he was on a podcast with Peter Schrager a couple weeks ago, and might have been a month ago, and he referenced how they were scouting Mahomes a year before they drafted him.
Exactly.
And that's what the smart teams do. And he's obviously clearly bringing that over here. He was in a little, Cubby, him and Brett Veach were in a small room watching Mahomes film, and they were sending videos to Andy Reid, and Andy's like, guys, like we're getting this draft ready. We're just finishing this next one. So that's what the smart teams do. And I think that's what it needs to stay as. But the money side of things, and if you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but if I'm thinking right, if you're a top 5 pick team, you pretty much don't really have to worry about too much on cap. You're a bad team. You don't really have a lot of dudes to resign. You're not going to have a lot of financial worries, at least in the first 2 years. I know that we'll resign, but we did some backloaded contracts, but the cap's going to go up 2 years from now. They know that cap is continuing to rise for one. And for two, we're in a spot where money shouldn't be a factor in who you're drafting. At the end of the day, you know what your money is slotted out when you're drafting 4th overall. They know that. They forecast that before free agency started. They know what's going on. So to me, the money's not a factor, and he's pretty much referencing that. You're going for the best player. The money's already allocated for it. They know what they're doing. They know what's coming in the year's future. They're already talking about that. Money is not a factor at the 4th pick, and it shouldn't be. For the team that you are, you need the best available players to bring juice to this team, period.
Yep.
I went to the scouting academy. That's why I got my cert in scouting. And what I took from that, and the two things that I've learned from them, and they just kept on beating it in my head, is the fact that BPA, you're a bad team, best player available, and when you scout 2 to 3 years ahead. forecasting the salaries and stuff like this is what they do. So if somebody's telling you that's not the case, don't worry about it. That's no, you know at least 75 to 85% of what's going to happen next year. You know 75 to 85% of the players that's going to come out, who they are, what they do good and what they do bad at. So if somebody's telling you don't worry about it because you'll never know, that's not always the case. You might not know how the guys that you might draft, how they might turn out right then and there in the team, or because you don't know how they're going to. When people get money, sometimes they change up, and that's in life in general. That's not even in football. So that's why excuse me, that's why the high character guys are so important when it comes to scouting, when it comes to drafting, when it comes to putting them on your team and things of that nature. So you always got to forecast. You always got to think 2 to 3 years ahead. BPA is very important. Everything that he said makes so much sense. And you see he's doing the same exact thing. He doesn't want to say too much. He is a mastermind at keeping his mouth closed. You remember back in the day when you played NBA 2K and they had the whole franchise mode, and then you had the rat. If you was a coach and you like, this guy has a rat on there, be careful because he got loose lips. Loose lips sink ships. We're not playing that game. And Borgonzi, he does that already. And it's beautiful and smart. He does it in every single thing too. It's not just with who do we want to pick. It's about the salary cap also. And he's just making it seem so smooth and so easy. And he's just circling around, like you were saying before. It's like a politician right now. This guy, I'm not going to say him a kid. This man is amazing at what he's doing. And it's beautiful.
Yeah, you're right. And just to add to Bo's point about being in, like you said, you picking up this high, you probably don't have a lot of people. But I think that when you said that, it just triggered a thought for me to I think it was perfect for Borgonzi to come in the way he did, because he doesn't have to fight around some huge salary cap. So a team that doesn't have a lot, he literally was able to come in and build this up from the ground up the way that he wants to. And I think that's perfect for us and for a guy like Borgonzi. So I'm glad for the future. And like you was just saying, Coach, like all of the pieces go together. He was able to do it. He doesn't have to fight out a huge contract or worry about sacrificing these high-profile players. Oh man, the future is just beautiful. I just love everything about it, man. Everything about it. All right, let's keep it going.
Look at the premium positions and how that could change from scheme to scheme. How much do you feel like middle linebacker, inside backer is a premium position with Robert Saleh and his defensive scheme?
Well, he certainly had a lot of success with linebackers he's had in San Francisco Jets, even his time back in Seattle with those guys. Like I said, I think there's going to be a cluster of players up there. You're looking for impact players when you get up there, when you're taking that high in the draft. And who's going to have the most impact? Who's the best player really available? But certainly there's a linebacker there that's pretty good as well. So
last year, there's a linebacker there that's pretty good as well. He even chuckled when he first started talking. Saleh's always been pretty good with the linebacker. So yeah, I don't know. I'm not. Oh man, I wish Ice was in here. Oh man, he'd be on the hill right now shouting for the Sunday.
Somebody call him. Tell him come in here.
He out there grilling, man. He got to keep an eye on them steaks, man.
He better keep an eye on them steaks.
But yeah, I think he's still doing more or less of what you was just talking about, man, being very political with it. But I just think, I think they know what they want. So I think that even if they do address some of these positions, or we feel like we have hints, I think we might have more hints at positions more than we do players. And saying that to say that, okay, it might, could go for another running. We'll go here, and then we can pick up, because we do have not going to say a deep class, but we signed a few running backs, and if you add one or two more, then you have a very, very competitive. You get a chance to have a very good look on the best combination that you can put, if that's the direction they want to go. Or they might not go Styles, and maybe they do go Love, but maybe there are other linebackers that, like you were saying in the beginning, the fourth round was magical last year. Bringing up DK and Helm and Io Manor. We can have. I really think a lot of the magic for us this year is going to happen on day 3. I think we'll be pleased with I think we will have a good blue chip player coming out of the day 1 or 2. But how do you feel about this? Do you think it's hitting at it? Because a lot of people saying, "Oh, there it is. That's it. That's the Styles pick." That's it. But yeah, y'all take it away. Tell me what your feedback is from his response from that question.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to hear about it more as we go, but he was asked about defense 80% of this press conference. So he can only answer defensive questions. So he's not going to go out of his way. Well, I know you mentioned Smiles, but let me go back and talk about Love or Tate or whoever else. He's not going to do that. He's answering the questions. And honestly, I think they loved that they were asked strictly defense because it doesn't really give away their plans on offense. Everybody knows they're going to go offense, but it doesn't say if they're going early, middle, late. Like they kind of avoided a lot of the offensive questions. But on this specific one, to play the devil's advocate, so to say, they asked about him and saying, hey, Sal's really good with middle linebackers. He is. And don't get me wrong, Fred Warner is a special player and he did great things when, he coached him. But he was gone more of the season this year than he wasn't. And still, how well did the Niners play without him, with Saleh? And if you took a running back away for like Gibbs from the Lions, Bijan for the Falcons, how well is that offense going to function?
Exactly.
So to me, when you look at it, and plus all the resources they put in there, he's going to answer the questions and, to the best of his ability by keeping it as minimal as possible. But he's throwing a hint that, we probably do draft a linebacker at some point. I would still be shocked if it's Styles at 4 just because there is some other linebackers in this class. But he's answering the question specifically about Styles. But he, again, flipped it the same way about Jeremiah Love. He flipped it in talking, there's a cluster of players up there. Regardless, we're getting a blue chip prospect in this draft, regardless of who we take. But he continues to reference other positions and other players. He doesn't want to be directly answering that one player. And that's one thing I've noticed when they bring up one player, he always references, there's other guys there, or we can find other guys there. He never wants to go too in detail with it.
Exactly. And they brought up, like you said, they brought up inside middle linebacker in this situation. And then if you want to do a drawback, he kept on saying BPA. He said best player available. He didn't really target that. Like you said, they've been talking about defense most of the conversation, most of the press conference. He said BPA. BPA could be anybody. He said, yes, Sonny's there. Sonny's a very good player. He kept on saying BPA, though. So we don't know who the BPA is when it comes to their board. I might think somebody is, you might think somebody is, Bo might think somebody is, but I don't want to say it's obvious, and he's being real skilled and real detailed in what he does let it loose because he's trying to keep everything close to his vest when it comes to it, and it's the smartest thing that we can do at this time. And again, best player available is what we need. Yeah. If Love is off the board and Sonny is there, okay, fine, take Sonny. I'm fine with that. I think with the Titans, I don't want to get too deep when it comes to the Titan fan base right now. It's like we're trying to find something to argue about. That's what it's starting to feel like. It's like everybody's starting to get kumbaya. Everybody had the follow train. Everybody had the jersey reveal. Now it's like, all right, boom. Now we got to hate each other again. No, that's not the case. Yeah. We are family. We can have discussions and stuff like that and be okay. But outside of us, you already know who I'm talking about when it comes to us.
Yeah.
They might not feel that exact same way. They might take it as, all right, cool. I got a reason to argue. I got a reason to dislike. I got to push my initiative and push what I think should happen. And my way is the only good way. But in all reality, that's not always the case. So at this point in time, if they want BPA for all of the draft picks this year, I'll be okay with it because we think we need that much talent on this team. So he's being intelligent by keeping everything close to the vest. He's being intelligent by adding everyone into the conversation and not tilting his hand when it comes to it.
I'll just say really quick, as long as the BPA is in a quarterback in round 6, I'm fine. outside of that, I'm good with any other BPA.
In round 6, I think they would rather take a kick.
Absolutely.
I told you before, bro, I love Hayden Hooker. I think he could be our future number 2. Not future number 1. Not future franchise quarterback. I slipped up in our last conversation, Bo. I don't think you saw it. Yeah. I don't think that episode came out yet. When it comes out, you guys are going to laugh. But, I think Hooker can be our future QB too. So there's no point even touching a quarterback at this point in time. Yeah,
no, you're right. I think we do pretty good amongst ourselves. You know what I'm saying? Like we talk, because I mean, you gotta have the speculations, but that's what makes it not become an echo chamber.
Yeah.
You know, but I think BPA is self-explanatory. I don't think you can specify BPA because it literally is in the description, best player available. So it's saying we don't know who's going to be gone. Whoever is available is who we might target. So I think they have several BPAs, and that would actually make sense because, like I said, it's self-explanatory in the term itself. So because you have to plan for these scenarios, and that's why you take the best player available, like, you know, or you just go get your guy. So so I do think they have several BPAs. Just given the smart drafting, you know, organization would do so, and they're, you know, ready to have it. Like he said, we can go now, man. I don't care. We don't know how the chips gonna fall, but you know, we're ready for them to fall, and we're gonna bounce back just fine. So so just let me know. I know y'all gotta just let me know after whatever question you got. You know, you cool. We won't go into the next question. Just give me a heads. Yeah, just like I said, just let me know. Like to be respectfully out of time. Like I said, I let you be flexible and stuff. So but yeah, we're gonna keep it rolling and keep it going. Just let me know.
You made it pretty clear that the number 1 pick was not for sale, that you were intent on taking Cam. This year at number 4, are you open for business? Or are you more likely to stick and pick? And if you're open for business, how far you feel like you can go back and still get a premium talent?
It depends, you know, and I think to answer the first question, I think we're going to remain flexible and fluid where we're at, because I do think there's a handful of players that we really do like it for. And now, you know, we've already started the discussions, but just in terms of scenarios, if we move back a few spots, if we went back 10 spots, you know, where would that leave us with players? So those are the discussions really over this that we've been having really over the last couple of weeks. But certainly that's one of the options, Terry.
There you go, Bo. Fluidity, that fluidity you was looking for. I'm gonna let you go ahead and put the season on that steak, man. Talk to us about that.
I feel like he'd rather trade out in the second round than the first.
Yes.
I feel like when he's talked about that, when he said, you know, it depends, and he brought up, you know, we like a handful of players, where would it leave us if we traded back? Because they know, just like every other GM knows, most of the league only has, of this first round, 16 to 18 of them as, you know, not necessarily blue chip, but high first round grades. After that, there's a drop off, and a lot of them have mentioned this throughout. So they know if they go too far back, especially if you start hitting that 11, 12, 13, you're really taking yourself out of a true blue chip and more into just a first round grade. There's a difference between a blue chip and a first round grade. So I feel like he would rather trade back in the second. He acknowledges it's an option, but he also brought up we like a cluster of players at 4. He said that in the question. I feel like they don't want to leave 4, knowing that if they did, they more than likely won't have their chances at the cluster of players if they were to trade back so many spots. Yeah. Second round is where I would love for them to trade back, because those 2 through 4 rounds, there's a lot of meat on the bone in so many positions, from interior to receiver to edge. And they would love to be able to double and triple dip in a lot of those rounds if they could. So I think that's what they would love to do. And I'm sure a lot of teams up in the first half of the second would. We just need someone to fall enough for the teams to want to jump up for that.
Yeah. Hey, Bo, can you do me a favor, bro? Go a little bit deeper when you said blue chip player. I know what you mean, but I'm not sure if everybody knows what you mean when you say that. Can you go a little bit deeper?
Yeah. So blue chip is, you know, impact player day one. You know, you're thinking about a Bijan Robinson, a Jamar Chase, a Justin Jefferson, dudes that are going to come in, you know, rookie year or not, and they're making impacts right away. You know, those are those dudes. First round grades, they're going to come in. They're still going to make an impact. I'm not saying they're not, but it's not going to be to the same impact that those guys can do coming out of the gates. You know, they're still going to develop. You know, you might think of, you know, offense lineman. Let's talk about, you know, J.C. Latham, you know, like first round grades, but there's still some developing that are going on there. They're not going to be as impactful. You think about the same year, Joe Alt, I mean, so far has been a better tackle, but he had to progress through that too. I mean, there's a difference between impact day one. You're going to affect the game there. They're like Kyle Hamilton with the Ravens when he came in. What did he do as rookie year? I mean, there's dudes that are blue chip compared to dudes that are just, you know, quality first round players that are going to play, but they still have to develop to get to that level.
Do you guys know the main position and the number one position that produces blue chip players? I'm smiling, so you should know already from the rip.
Yeah, I know you smiling.
Yep.
Running back.
Running back, yep.
It produces the most blue chip players. It's a higher hit percentage when it comes to that. Guys that can rush for possibly 1,000 yards off the rip. when it comes to the transition from college to the pros, the easiest transition is the running
Running
back
back.
position. The running back position, we're not going to talk about kickers and all that other ish. The running back position is a number one position. Then it's safety, then it's edge, and then so on and so forth. So, with that being said, if we're looking for a blue chip player, we have to stay at 4. But that's our mindset because that's what we need as a Tennessee Titans. I'm starting to really, really feel like we can possibly drop down to 7 and be okay. And I haven't said this at all yet. I haven't said this at all. I'm just saying this now. I say that because Washington, they want to run it back, but they need a safety.
Yeah.
Dallas Cowboys, I'm not worried about them bumping up. The Giants, they need a plethora of players, and they definitely need a middle linebacker extremely bad. So, with that being said, if the board falls to our favor, and you still have Sonny Styles, you still have Downs, and you still have Love, and a couple other, let's say a couple other prospects in that cluster, in that position, you can still get your blue chip guy, and you can still get extra draft picks if we bounce down to 7. So, of course, I love the fact that he's saying, "Hey, we're keeping it open." I know damn well they're not going to drop down. The 12 is kind of iffy to me. Only time I drop down to 12, that 20, is if I know I can bounce back up to 7 and get the guy that I want to get.
Yeah.
And if you want to be honest, we are eliminating one of the guys that will be in that 3, which is Downs, Styles, and Love. We're eliminating one, which is Downs, because I don't think they're going to draft him because he's the exact same player as Kevin Winston Jr. So when it comes to the trade down, I see it being possible. I don't see it being likely because I feel like from this conversation, you play at his face, you'd be like, hey, he doesn't want to move down. He would love to pick the guy that he really, really wants, which is either Styles or Love. I just think Love will be the guy in that situation when it comes to it because it makes so much sense because that transition from college to the pros is so much easier for a running back. His size, his weight, his speed, his toughness is a lot of stuff that is in his favor. He checks a lot of different boxes when it comes to it. Hell, if he's not hitting the sticks running at the running back position for whatever reason, shit, bounce him over the slot a little bit. Get a little bit of slot, get him the ball. You get the kid open space is a wrap. So that's why I think trading down it's possible. I feel more possible for it now than I did in day 1, but I don't think we bounce down past 7. I already know Tate is more than likely going to Cleveland at the number 6 spot. So I feel okay with it, and I don't think Love is going to go to the Giants anymore. I feel like there's about to be a battle for Styles at that position. So we'll see, man. I definitely feel like we'll see. I don't think Washington is going to take a running back right now, even though it would be smart for them too. So if we did trade back to 7, I don't think they would take our guy because I really think they need Caleb Downs. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, things are shaping up. I mean, Washington, they I think, they finished what? I know it was at least in top 10 in rushing last year, wasn't it?
It's 4.
Yeah, exactly. I knew they were up there. I wanted to say that. Just wasn't sure. Yeah, so, I mean, it's not like they need it from somebody who's, finished in the bottom. And then you're looking at, like you said, the Giants. I mean, I don't do any linebacker, but I mean, you see the situation that's going on with Dexter Lawrence right now. So I mean, that's something else that just popped up as of recently that they would need to address, honestly, whether through the draft or free agency. So
yeah,
so those are the needs. And I just wanted to point out this factor. I had reposted this. It was a post from ML Football the other day, but it kind of points the importance of proper drafting. So just real quick, it just talks about how the Dolphins could have had a great duo because Miami passed on Justin Herbert and Justin Jefferson because Miami picked Tua at 5, then LA took Herbert at 6. Oh, they were ahead to pick Herbert, but they chose. And then at 18, Miami took Austin Jackson, and then the Vikings came at 22 and took Justin Jefferson. They were ahead in both places to get Justin Herbert. Can you imagine if they would have had Justin Herbert and Justin Jefferson with Mike McDaniels?
Yeah,
that would have been a crazy. Oh, that would have been dangerous.
Back Miami, a team. It would have been different over there.
Yeah, and they definitely had some decent defenses in that stretch. So, and like I said, not to go too deep on that, but just showing the potential of just proper drafting. Like they were literally right there. They were ahead. They didn't have to do too much. But if you don't, analyze properly, I mean, everybody misses from time to time, but it just matters. Is the point that I'm trying to make. And yeah, that woulda, coulda, shoulda, man. But
Overthink, bro. Like overthinking is so huge in sports, and you don't do it. Like, what do you see on
yeah,
film? What do you see on film? I don't give a
Mhm.
damn how small your arms are, how small your hands are. What do you see on the football
You see,
field? If you
exactly.
see a dog, you draft a dog. Plain
Yep.
And I'll
Yeah,
say,
I think we'll go ahead and take the short player that we know we want it for, and then, like you said, possibly go ahead and then once we get into the second, well, then, all right, now we can probably trade backs. No, we feel like we feel like they're deep enough at certain positions in this draft, but we don't have to reach for it. We can go a little bit back further and gain an extra pick or two. Then we'll definitely be able to play that ball from the second round moving forward. So I think it could definitely play out like that.
yeah, and I'll just say real quick that it makes me wonder how many GMs second guess and do something different if the draft was at the beginning of April rather than the end. How many of them overthink? How many of them wonder?
Yeah.
And also, same thing. We're football's the only league that does the draft after for agency.
Yes.
Well, how much different would it be if the draft was before for agency? So I mean, there's a lot of things that make you wonder about how teams would operate differently or how things would go if those two things were different.
I agree, 100%.
True.
I would love to see how that would look.
I would too.
I would love to see how that would look.
I would definitely change up some things for sure. Huh, interesting.
Field do you have for Arizona and the Jets, and how important is it for you to have a pre-field, or at 4, is it kind of irrelevant what they do? You're ready for any scenario?
Paul, I think we will be ready for any scenario. If you listen to everything that's out there now, though, it's a lot of smoke screens. So I think you do have to pay attention to it, right? But certainly I think that we're going to have options there at 4, no matter what the team does in front of us.
Determining how.
Yeah, me personally, I'm not, like I said, I'm not gonna get too deep into that. I think like that's kind of what we've been touching on. A lot of smoke screen. I think we did touch on that in the previous episode about how the Cardinals or the Jets decisions could alter the Titans' decision, and I think it will, but not in a way where it'll affect us in a bad way. Like maybe they took a play that they had on their board, but that just bounces us back to BPA. So I mean, I don't know. I think either way, the ball bounces will be okay regardless, especially if the move is to stick there and pick who we want at 4.
Yeah, I'll make it pretty quick on this one. Paul asked a question later on saying, do you participate in it? Meaning, do you put the smoke screens out? Do you like to, have fun with that? And Borgo, I love his response. He says, it's the game within the game. And I know that's not yet, but it's essentially the same thing that's going on here. And I love that with RGM because you have to have enough smart and sophisticated GM to put out enough smoke with just a hint of truth, but you want to dangle the grapes in front of the head essentially, and you want to get them to bite on it. You want to get teams to wonder how truthful was that, how much, because these insiders aren't getting the resources from out of nowhere. They're getting them from parts of the team, and the teams are feeding this information. How much is a lie? How much is truth? You got to find the truth in it, and I love that Borgo admits he enjoys playing the game within the game with it when they ask him later on, but I mean, everything that's put out there, they pay attention to because they have to. It's all part of the process.
Exactly. All part of the process. Simple as that. They know what they want to do. They know the options in which they're going to go about doing it. And they're prepared beyond belief. If you look at this man's face in this interview or in this conference, you can see the confidence of somebody that has been here before. He did this in a past life. I'm a spiritual cat, like I told you before. Hey, I feel like we have several lives. I feel like he'd been here before. He did this, and he won a Super Bowl by doing this. So they know what they're going to do. Him saying that and the way he said it, it feels like he's like we all been saying they're going to stick at 4 and just pick because they're in a win-win position. When was the last time we were in a win-win position like this? If you think about it, like if we didn't take any more receivers, we will be okay. Will we be good? No. Let's be honest. We wouldn't be good. We will be okay though, and we understand why we did not. If we only position that I feel like we need to for sure add is a right guard. Everything else we're good. And if you look at the roster to this day, if the season started tomorrow, we will be in good shape. We will be in okay shape and compete and possibly win some football games if
For
we
sure.
just did everything right now. And the confidence that this man has and the confidence that I have in this franchise right now, it's just we're good no matter what. I feel like we talked about this with Ice. I feel like regardless if we draft Styles, Love, or trade it back, everybody as a Titan fan would be good and okay because we could understand why. You can justify why. We're just arguing right now. Well, not us per se, but we're arguing right now as Titan fans for the hell of it because we're bored and we're ready for some football. So that's what it is right now. We just want to ball, man. We just want to see something new. So that's why it's starting to get itchy with us because we know we're going to have I've got to be careful with this. We know we're going to have a team that can compete and play and win games and be in games. So they already know what the Jets are going to do. I personally feel like I think they already know which way the Cardinals are going to lean to a certain extent. So yes, when he said he's prepared for whatever, he's prepared for whatever for sure.
Let's get it.
How big of an upgrade a player has to be at a position that maybe isn't a need to justify selecting a player at that position over a place where maybe you don't have a starter ready to play there?
Yeah, I mean that's always the I guess the challenge of the draft, and that's why you always stay true to the board because you can make mistakes if you're trying to force need and you're taking a player that's a lesser value. So I think we always go back to, take the best player. You never know what's going to happen, this year, next year, just because we have a need this year, and how we can acquire players. The draft and free agency obviously is a big part of it, but there's certainly other avenues to acquire players throughout the year. So you never want to make a rash decision and just force a need for a player on draft night. I think that's really why we always talk about taking the best player available, and everybody rolls their eyes. But I think that's important, though.
Yeah, let's welcome to the stream. We got Jackson in here, Titans Report podcast, showing up. But yeah, pretty much we just going through the questions one at a time, brother. We just letting him ask the question, he'll respond, and we responded to his response. So, but yeah, right there, that's kind of the same thing we was talking about. Like BP, I think I actually asked that before. I actually remember saying, yes, it's no need to force. Like I said, when you have strategy and you know what you're doing and you're prepared and you have multiple approaches that you can, that you can go into this draft with, I think forcing is a panic move, and there's no need for us to panic. I think we can calmly maneuver no matter where the draft or the board falls to us, and that's just come with proper preparation. So yeah, I mean, I totally agree, and I believe him. I don't think there's anything smoke city about that at all. I think that's just common sense. I mean, for the best teams, especially if you're confident in your ability to maneuver throughout the draft. So yeah, there's no need to force. Take the BPA if that's the position, or if you don't see anything that valuable, like I said, maybe a trade back if the proposal warrants itself to put you in that position to do so. But yeah, we'll just tell me. Go ahead. Tell me how you feel. We can work our way up the board. Go ahead, take it.
Yeah. So I had two thoughts on. Well, a couple thoughts. When he first said, we're not going to panic and force need, I immediately went to John Robinson when he drafted Caleb Farley, and it's just exactly what came to my mind. And I mean, I had all the hopes of the world for Farley, but you're coming off injury history, you're drafting off of traits, you're reaching for a player off the traits from all that, and that's panic moves. Now, it worked out for his favor with Jeffrey Simmons, but that's the only one it worked out for. Yes. But the second part of it is, he brought up, you can acquire players throughout the year and you don't want to panic. I fully agree. We're going to be fourth in the waiver order. We have time. We could pick up players that get cut if need be. We did a lot of that last year. You could still sign for agents after this. There's still some players out there like a Bobby or Carrick at middle linebacker. If you end up not going linebacker early here, there's a lot of spots you can go. So you're not going to panic. You're just going to take who can impact this team the most right now in the first round. And then you start looking at best impacts after that in different phases. So there's not a smoke screen there. Every GM, I think, would feel the same way.
Yes. All right, babe. Spot on, man. Spot on. Like, the thing that stood out to me in this is the fact that he said, stay true to the board. This is what made me say earlier, I think they would do BPA possibly throughout the whole entire draft, because we have to do it. We don't have a choice. We have to. Other than, like we talked about before, drafting a quarterback out of the blue, I think it will be a BPA type situation because we are in a position to do that because we want to build talent. We want to develop talent. We want to basically not have to worry about the situation that's going on right now with the right guard situation of having to, let's say, get a free agent or whatnot down the line because the guy that we drafted, let's say 2 years ago, is actually developing at the pace that we feel comfortable to start him at the right guard position. And that's another reason why we need to pay attention to Jackson Slater, and I really think he might be the starting center. It is right there. Like they wanted him to be a center last year. He didn't have to. He stood behind a stud, and he learned all that he can possibly learn. So and now it's time for him to go out there, fly, use your wings. Let's do what we got to do. So BPA is going to be something that you hear with the Titans throughout the draft. Two-Tone, you're going to hear this all day in Pittsburgh those next week. So we need to just get accustomed to it. The pick might not make sense right then and there, but I think it will in the future. So,
yeah, I trust the process. I don't. I'm just that person. I'm not. If y'all notice, I'm really not that biased. I give you more of an optimistic argument, but I don't think I'm floating in the stratosphere. I just think there's no reason for me to attach none that I don't have any control over. And then I just have to trust the organization that I root for. But Jackson, what's your feedback on that position, that situation, that statement? What do you take away from what Borgonzi said?
Yeah, I trust Borgonzi, what he's doing, right? And it seems like Borgonzi's a guy that's very calm, which is very, very good for Titans fans. A very good feeling for all of us, right? Bao, you brought it up just moments ago, John Robinson, right? So I trust Borgonzi's plan, right? And I think as we go more down the line, we're going to see how the board really shapes up and see what Borgonzi does from now to the first round, second round, third round, fourth round. And heck, you brought it up, Two-Tone Bandit. Sorry, I'm stumbling, but you brought up the point, right? If they go position that someone doesn't like, maybe like fans think, okay, Jeremiah loves to pick. If they go Sonny Styles, I'm fine with it. I trust Mike Borgonzi, and the scouts have done a very great job so far, just evaluating everybody. And I think so far this organization has really hit on what they've done this offseason. And I think this draft is going to be good for the Titans. I think they're going to have a very good draft from rounds 1 to 7. They're going to get an impact player at every single spot. So I trust Borgonzi in his plan, and we're just a week away. So we'll see what happens, but we'll see what happens with that.
100%.
Do you want to say, boys, I got to go be a dad right now. I got to go put these kids to bed. I'll try to jump on when I'm done, but.
No, you're good. That's literally what I was ready to ask you. I was ready to check with y'all before we started the next question. I was seeing if y'all
Hey, I'm glad appreciate y'all for inviting. I was came out from work, just came home 5 minutes away, boom. We're on here.
Yeah, you're good. We're gonna keep rolling. I'm gonna keep this train rolling for a little. Like I said, we got a whole season, man. As long as we alive, Titan fans, this thing gonna be happening. But yeah, I got you, Bo. Just check in when you can.
Yes, sir.
I'm gonna definitely get
Always
you in.
good conversation, boys.
Yes, sir.
For sure. Coach, I'm
gonna rock for a little bit longer. We're good.
Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and let this go back. Let us roll. See what we have.
Player on draft night. I think that's really why we always talk about taking the best player available, and everybody rolls their eyes. But I think that's important, though.
You've got a spot at 4, and you said you've got a handful of players that you like. So if someone trades up to 3, is there any panic that they're going to take your guy, or are there enough guys where you're like, take whoever you want?
Well, I think there's, like I said, I think there's enough guys that we feel comfortable at 4, even if there was a player selected before us that we had in there that we feel good about taking at 4.
You mentioned the linebacker Styles.
Okay, so look.
Yeah,
look,
right
let's
there.
go right back to the confidence, man. Like I said, I feel good. This is Borgo doing. Oh man, I really hope that this whole unit can stay together as long as possible. I mean, at least Sala and Borgo. I mean, I know coordinators are more frequent than they used to be, or maybe maybe you say, you know what, it's not a team that maybe some people don't want to always jump to certain positions.
Yeah,
because you're a good OC and you can keep your resume consistent, then you'll always have an opportunity. I mean, Ben Johnson could have stayed with Detroit and, could have kept them. If he would have just kept doing what he did and still had that type of success, at any time he wanted to, have a head coaching position, pretty sure he would have been available to do so. So I'm hoping that we get Daboll for at least 2 years, but I'm loving what I'm getting from this organization, and it's been so long since we can actually say that. We've been focused on the field and the players so much and been wondering what's going on with some of the coaches. I mean, our coordinators have been the biggest problem for the longest years outside of head coaches and organization. We've questioned coordinators like they just picking up high school coaches just with no experience. Like, why? Him? You wouldn't get him? Why not get him? Why are you like, it just makes me think how many people would have had that much of a better chance or better career had we just done properly with the coaching. But yeah, I just hope this continuity can really build. But I'm loving it. I'm loving it. How y'all feel about his confidence no matter what happens at that position?
Jackson, get some.
Yeah, man. I mean, you brought it up right there, panic mode, like I mentioned, Borgonzi's calm. And I think that's a really good feeling to a team and the trusting organization. And that's why I like all the scenarios we got brought up earlier, the trade down situation, going another route with Styles, Love. In case one of those guys go, that's why you always have backup plans, right? That's why you don't just lean to like one guy. That's why you think about this other guy and the guy behind it, because that really could be your pick at 4. And it's for all the picks, right? In the 5th round, 6th round, whatever. I know they've talked about, trading up in the 5th round, to get your guy, right? He's not panicking. He's calm. He's ready. He's ready to go. I think there's a lot of good confidence in that organization. Scouts have watched a lot of good stuff. So I think there's a lot of good confidence in Borgonzi and the scouts, and the team's done a really good job evaluating so far. And maybe they're not done evaluating, but I think their board is shaping up pretty good. And, whoever's on that board, we don't know, but I'm sure they're getting a pretty good sense on what that board's going to become over the next week before we start the draft.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. Like, the board is going to shift. It's going to change a little bit. More information might come out from someone. They might not get a response for someone that they want. It can be several different factors. I just love that it seems like everyone in this organization right now they have been here before. They seem like they know what they're doing. They're relaxed, like you said before, Jackson. They're calm. They have swag to them. It feels good to know that we're taken care of and they're going to do the right thing for this franchise more so than the right thing for themselves. When you think about Rand, when he signed the guys that he signed, was he signing it for the benefit of the team for the future, or was he signing it to say, hey, I signed these motherfuckers? So it's just it depends on it really depends on the outcome. What's going to happen from the outcome? And I feel like the outcome is going to be in our favor as Tennessee Titan fans, as the Tennessee Titan organization. They're putting the next guy first, more so than putting themselves first. Just like they had the whole situation that happened with the GM before with Rabel and Robinson and Rabel. That whole situation when they traded away a guy that you already knew for a shot of a doubt, Rabel knew and felt that he was beneficial towards this team. And he just traded him away because he couldn't work on the deal and he panicked. I don't feel like we're going to get that same panic. I don't think we're going to get that same finesse. The other teams are going to try to finesse us because we got guys in this organization that's going to handle us first. They're going to put us first more so than their egos, more so than their fears, more so than anything else. So we're golden.
Yep, I'm golden. We heard him for
the linebacker Styles. Who does he remind you of when you watch his Ohio State tape and you see what he was able to do athletically at the combine?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of the testing, not really anybody. I mean, his testing numbers, I think he broke every testing number for a linebacker. He's tall, he's rangy. He's a former safety, so he's got great feel and coverage. His length can take up a lot of space on the field. Tremaine Edmonds was a linebacker that comes to mind that was similar size, I guess. But even he wasn't this athletic, so it's a tough comp, Jared.
You see left tackle.
There it is. Boy, yeah, boy, if I could see ice right back, boy.
Oh man, that was
Easy right now.
he mentioned a comment earlier, Styles County, Tennessee. I'm like, I saw that earlier. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, crazy.
He was talking for an hour about this damn man.
I saw the Twitter chat. Yeah, I will say this about Sonny Styles is that I'm not gonna say that's their guy, right? I mean, you get brought up the guy, you got Love. I'm pretty sure was earlier than this. I'm pretty sure. I think I missed it, but that's a common answer, right? Styles, a freaky athlete, good linebacker. That's a common answer for Borgonzi, and it kind of really sets up to what Teron Davenport brought up almost a week ago about the Titans have an interest in Styles at 4, and it very much could happen, right? That's still a big possibility. We're still waiting to see what Dallas does do, right? But I will say this, in this draft, it's going to be important to watch and see how the board falls and sees if a linebacker is a need, because I think it is a need for the Titans. I think it's important for Robert Saleh's linebacker. He's made Quincy Williams an all-pro type of linebacker, Fred Warner, Drain Greenlaw, just guys like that. And maybe Sonny Styles is the next guy for Robert Saleh. I think linebacker is important for Saleh. You can make the debate. Maybe it's not at 4. Maybe it's at whatever, 66 or whatever the area, right? There's some good depth. But I expect the Titans to at least look at the position, right? I mean, to at least upgrade from last year, find a true Mike type of linebacker. And if Saleh and Borgonzi are looking at 4 and be like, is this the guy? They might pull it. They might pull the trigger and be like, this might be the guy. And I think when you look in the debate, linebacker is probably on my list is like at least 4th or 5th on my list position need. But anyway, that's not the point. The point is common answer for Styles. The Borgonzi, I would say, is interested. I just won't say that's the favorite guy. I think I think it's inappropriate in my own words to say that as of today. But there is interest between the Titans and Borgonzi. That's what I take from that.
I got a hot take. When it comes to the middle linebacker position, I feel like Jacob Rodriguez will be a better pro than Sonny Styles. That's a hot take.
I like that. Okay, I like that.
It's a hot take, and I get people who look like, what the hell? I'm not trying to say Sonny Styles is not going to be good. I'm going to say for the value that you can get Jacob Rodriguez compared to the value of where you're going to have to draft Sonny Styles, it's going to make more sense for your future. It's going to make more sense for your team. Just like A.J. Brown getting drafted in the 2nd round compared to him getting drafted in the 1st round. It was a great value for the Tennessee Titans. Derrick Henry, amazing value because he got him in the 2nd round. That's just my opinion when it comes to it. Again, Sonny Styles, I would not be upset if we did get Sonny, but I am okay with passing on Sonny Styles, getting Jeremiah Love, and getting a Jacob Rodriguez down the road at 66, or if you trade down a little bit in that 2nd round and get him, because he's going to go 2nd, early 3rd.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't know if he's going to be there at 66. Might have to move
doubt it. I strongly doubt that too, brother. I really feel like he's going to go mid-2nd, but I'm okay with trading down in that 2nd to get him, and I'm okay with doing that before I'm getting. I want a receiver, but I feel like we can get a receiver at 66. And they are adamant that they can get one at 66 or at 101. And I see it. I get it. I'm okay with getting Jacob Rodriguez in that 2nd round because he's that damn good. And that value is better value than it would be getting for Sonny. Can you imagine this? Getting Ted Hurst.
Oh,
Jacob
I
Rodriguez.
mentioned him yesterday. I mentioned him last episode, man. I love Ted Hurst. That's my guy.
You can rock with those 3, brother. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Jeremiah Love, Jacob Rodriguez, and Hurst.
And then
it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
And you know what?
You can add Ponch to that.
Oh, I love Pons. Hey,
and Pons is good
that's
too.
One of my favorite players in the draft by far. But the issue with Pons is his height. But again, we play zone. We're going to be a heavy zone team. What's the point? It doesn't matter. He will be a starter for years to come. He's going to play that star position. But again, the issue with him, he's going to, how can I put this? Him and Kevin Winston, they're going to kind of butt heads for playing time because they both play that star position so well. So even though Pons is going to be considered a corner, but they like to play Kevin Winston Jr., we don't know what's going to happen when it comes to it. So I'll take that away because we don't know where they're going to put these guys on the field when it comes to it. But just looking at my mind, I'm like, that's going to be a clash of time. But I'm okay with that too. I'm okay with getting Pons. I love him. That's one of my favorite players in the draft. But I'd rather get Jacob in that 2nd round, that mid-2nd round, and get Ted Hurst in the 3rd and just get Jeremiah Love and stop playing games and just feed families for the future.
Yeah.
So it's so many possibilities that can happen, but will it happen? Like you said before, we got to look at this board. We got to see what linebackers come off the board. I don't feel like linebacker is that much of a need, because then you still have Bobby Okereke that's out there and that can still produce at that position if you missed out on everybody that you like. You still have Landon Barton down the road. I feel like he can ball too. The Utah guy, and he's 6'4", 6'5". So
Trotter
and
is,
if you look at
Josiah
all the
Trotter.
guys that, yes, you got him too. So you got all these guys that can still ball, that are big, that can like to be developed. Robert Saleh likes developing guys more so than drafting them right off the rip. So when you're talking about linebackers, name one linebacker that Robert Saleh had that he drafted in the first round.
Wasn't that Quincy Williams? Was that Williams?
He wasn't in the first round, I don't think. I do not think Quincy Williams was a linebacker in the first round.
Quincy.
He might have been in the second round.
I think he was second or third. He might have been lower than that.
No, I don't think it was that low. I want to say it was at least day 2. I want to say. Y'all chat. I know. I can hear y'all. I can hear y'all analyticing over there.
I'm trying to look it up. I'm trying to figure it out. I thought it was an early second, but it could be wrong. You brought up linebacker.
He was a third round guy.
Third round guy. Okay, thank you. Okay, cool.
I thought it was day 2. Something like that.
Yeah.
It was day 2. It was definitely a day 2. But go ahead, Jackson.
No, hold on. I don't think he was drafted. He wasn't drafted by New York though.
No, he wasn't.
Jacksonville.
He was cut by Jacksonville and went to New York.
Yeah.
So like what I'm talking about when it comes to Saleh is the fact that he doesn't need that first round talent to mold his clay, as they say. He can take guys that are not polished in the later rounds and make them good linebackers. He's that good. So that's why
I mean, you can't depend on that though, because I mean, what? It's 32 positions in the first round. I mean, that's only 32 out of what, 255? I think that's roughly
255
so,
around.
You're not gonna have that. So the greatest people have to work outside of the first round. But I mean, it's good to have difference makers for sure. But yeah, and that's what I think I like about the coaching staff, because that's the intangibles. Like, so let's
And you one last thing before we get move on to the next question.
Yeah, you go.
When it comes to running back, when it comes to linebacker, when you look at all the linebackers, when will that next linebacker get drafted? Or when will the next, let's say, impact strong middle linebacker or outside linebacker, however you want to call it, linebacker get drafted compared to when will that next running back get drafted?
Yeah.
It's a nice little gap. I would go with the gap. I would go with the guy that, without a shadow of a doubt, he's the best player at that position in this draft. So why not play with our food? Let's do what we got to do.
Yep. That's why you said you got multiple people that, so how they fall, they feel comfortable with where they're going to be at. I'm cool with it.
100%.
In the first 3 rounds is kind of tying into what we talked about already, but you've obviously got Dan Moore and a big investment in Dan Moore. Yeah. Would it be at all difficult to take that guy knowing you're either sitting a $22 million guy or you're sitting a high pick in the first round, given that you have a lot of other places where you need to get people on the field?
The big guys are hard to find, Paul. As you know, there's not too many guys that are that big and athletic. I think that's why, those guys get taken so high. Or when you have a chance to acquire, those type of positions, I think you have to do it regardless. And then, however it shakes out, whoever wins the position battle, and, to have an opportunity to get a young tackle in here to develop, no matter where we take him, I think you have to certainly think about doing that.
With a guy like Reese, he actually had an interview. He said,
"Yo, left tackle. Everybody was. Is the BPA a tackle?
Hey, well, it's not going to be at 4.
So it's funny because I when I heard about this, one guy came to my head, and that's the Arizona State offensive tackle, Max. I think it's Aichor.
Basketball player, yeah.
Yeah, great athlete.
Great athlete.
Great athlete. And really, I like we mentioned last time about Calvin Ridley. I think this is Dan Moore's year to have to prove it as well. 100%. I think this is 100%. This is Dan Moore's year. If he doesn't prove it, I think he's gone by next offseason. And it, it might be a little bit of a stretch in the second round, but if you trade back a little bit and have those 2 picks, I can see him taking Anshore from Arizona State. That he can maybe swing to the left side. He played mostly right side. I think I looked up his stat earlier. I think he played a little bit at left tackle, a couple snaps, I think 2023 or 2024. But it's a guy that can very much be in need for the Titans. You can look at maybe in the later rounds. I think Dunker is more of a guard, but maybe that's an option as well. But you need to figure out guys for the future. And Anshore is that guy who can potentially be your future left tackle. Am I going to say that's 100%? But if you watch the tape, I was watching on him, I think, sometime early yesterday. He was winning a lot of one-on-ones on David Bailey. He has a lot of good arm strength and good hand size to win those pass rush. And the Titans need help at the left tackle spot. And it's a need since, obviously, around Taylor Lewan time, they need to address it. And that was one of Borgonzi's first biggest signings. And again, they're keeping all options on the table. I won't be surprised they select him in the second round. I know some Titans fans are looking at him and be like, offensive tackle? Like, we don't need tackle. We have 2 guys. I mean, you want to get as much tackles as you can. You know, because the thing is about Latham, I want to tell you guys about Latham. I think Latham's going to have a big year in year number 3. But the thing with Latham is that he needs to prove it. He needs to show it on the field. That's my biggest thing because, you know, maybe they might move him. I want to bring this up. I'm surprised someone didn't ask about it. I know Latham's not going to get moved to guard, but I'm surprised someone didn't ask Borgonzi about that. Now, I won't be surprised if Latham does get moved over back to the left side next year if Moore's not here. But Anshore is a guy to watch. I mean, 12 games started last year, 0 sacks, 859 snaps. That's a guy that can be a very good use on the offensive line. And he's a solid run blocker as well. He's very quick. I mean, he's fast. He ran a 4.9140. So if you're thinking about offensive line in the second round, especially offensive tackle, that's what I'm looking at. Later rounds, like maybe Markel Bell could be maybe an option. I know the Senior Bowl wasn't the best for him, but still could be an option.
Senior Bowl.
Seeing terrible. I felt bad. I saw that clip from Easton. I'm like, oh gosh. I think that was Derek Moore who that bull rush that smacked him. But again, this is a team that they're trying to build for the future. And off the tackle, I won't be surprised they select any.
I like him too. You said something, brother?
No, you're good. Go for it.
I'm waiting. I got some juice. Go ahead.
I love both. It's 3 guys from Iowa offensive line that I love. All of them. You got Bo Stevenson, you got Logan, and you got Dunker. Dunker is definitely going to get bounced down to the guard position, but he can play that tackle if you want him to. Logan Jones I feel like he can be a stud at center if he goes to the right team. And Bo Stevens is also very, very good. He's a tough kid. I feel like he can do really good too. The guy that you're talking about from Arizona State, I love him. Former basketball player, big as all get out. He can really play. Yes, tackle should be something that we keep an eye on because with that conversation, what he just said, he's basically saying everyone is on notice. And I'm fine with that. We need that. We need that type of GM. We got the coaching staff for it now. So let's do what we got to do. Tackle is definitely a position that's open. At that 35 position, you got the guy from Alabama, the left tackle there. He might slip. I don't see him slipping, but that's still a possibility. He's so-called a lock in the first round, but we've seen crazier things happen. And it's crazy. His fall is amazing to me because he was supposed to have been a top 5 pick going into this year. And then he fell all the way to the bottom half of that first round. But I still think he can be somebody that's going to be productive because he's extremely athletic also. I just think the team was that bad this year, even though Bama was still decent. But for Bama standards, they had a bad year. So I see it too. I definitely think tackle is something that we can definitely keep an eye on. And I feel like we will take one sooner or later. Bell is a Miami guy. I think they always want to give a Miami guy to Cam. So that's something to keep a lookout for. I know that guard is also available when it comes to Miami. So that's another guy we can keep an eye on too. Offensive line is definitely going to be something that's going to be pushed forward and put on the forefront when it comes to this draft in the later rounds, especially that day 3. We might, like you said before, don't be surprised if he does get picked or they do pick a tackle in that second round because it is a need. It is possible. It all depends on how the board flows and whatnot. So I'm excited, bro. I can't wait because it's competition being put in place. Every position is going to be a battle other than the QB position, the head QB position. So I love it. Definitely love it.
Yeah, I'm gonna drop
Last
this
one before we get
June.
out there, bro.
You said who?
I said this is going to be my last one too. Just letting you know.
Okay, you cool. You mean like when I'm done or the next question?
When you're done.
Okay. All right. So yeah, I'm gonna add this right quick. So I'm looking at this, and I keep saying that that I really think that I think if the tackle is there, you take them, like you said. If there's somebody that they really like and they feel like they can work with, I mean, earlier the better, right? So you take them. So it's either this draft, next free agency, or next draft. You got 3 opportunities to look for the guy, which is great. It's not like you really box yourself in a certain corner. You do have time because you got a guy signed to a deal. But I'm gonna just break down the money situation and what I was looking at. That's why I was like, okay, and just putting it out there so everybody can really understand what it's looking like and why it would really make sense next year. And it wouldn't necessarily have to be a post June 1st signing. So keep that in mind. It could happen before, or he could be traded. So we're looking at moving on. But of course, we know 2026 is expensive. The time, it was a 4-year, $82 million, $25.5 million signing and bonus and $50 million guaranteed. Now, according to Over the Cap, they're saying that $42.5 million was fully guaranteed at signing, and the remaining $7.49 million becomes guaranteed on the 5th day of the 2026 league year. So just to give you a quick breakdown, the 2026 cap hit at $26.3 million. If we did it this year, it would be too much because it would be $39 million in dead cap, losing $12 million in savings, meaning so it would hurt us. Did it after June 1st? We $26 million in dead cap, $12 million in dead space, so only about $30,000 really in saving, which really wouldn't make sense to just serve $30,000 to lose your starting left tackle. But looking at next year, when we look at next year, that's when it gets interesting because before June 1st, we have $19 million in dead cap with $7.2 million in savings. Or if we did it afterwards, it would be a $6.3 million dead cap with $12 million in savings. $12 million is 2027 and a $19.9 million savings. So it makes sense, and looking at that is telling me that, like I said, between this draft, next free agency or next draft, they definitely will be targeting a tackle. And I don't think, like I said earlier, I don't think they're going to force it because we need a tackle. But if there's a guy there, I do see them picking him up. And as far as Dan Moore, if we're balancing the cap to bring in more people that are more valuable, then maybe he could sign another tackle depth-wise in free agency next year while or he could be the guy and then maybe teach his young guy because he probably will be a rookie. That would be the best way to go. Try to get someone that you can get on because that is a premium. On the offensive line, that's your premium outside of your center, honestly. 100%. And so that blind side would definitely seem to be the way to go as far as investments. But looking at the money situation, if they have enough patience, and it depends on how much they want. That's like a $5 million difference. That's 7.2 to 12.7. So that's up to them, but definitely could see it happening next year and him not going through the full length of his contract. Best case scenario for us is, that's worst case scenario right there, that they ride out the season and then definitely we see what they're going to do next year. Best case scenario is that we can actually get more value from it in the trade as well, because if he plays well enough, then his stock could go up. Because when he came here, stock was low. I think what he had led up the most sacks.
Yeah,
from
12 with the Steelers.
Yeah, and so I could definitely see it being addressed. Not a lot of people are talking about it because if you want to talk about smoke screen, everyone's too worried about the center and the guard position. Yeah, and that's not important. But I still just don't think you can undervalue the blind side of your quarterback if we're talking about proper protection.
Sorry, go ahead, bro.
And one last thing, bro. Shout out to Chad Brinker because he's been working these contracts. He's got a lot of help, a lot of slack these last couple of years. Because he's been put in a role that he did not expect to be in and he did not want to be in himself, and it was obvious.
Nice guy.
Shout out to him because he's been doing the damn thing when it comes to these contracts, man. So shout out to him.
Yeah, ran into him one time. Very nice. Very good weeks ago. Very nice guy. So
definitely
awesome.
All right, we're all right, Coach. You gotta go do your wrestling thing. Get ready for what's the day? I probably don't see him the Monday, y'all. So go ahead.
WrestleMania.
Say what y'all got to say, man. Check them out. Tell them where they can find it at, bro. They don't check out your
WrestleMania. Culture of wrestling, man. Culture of wrestling. We are starting up our podcast when it comes to it. We've been rolling, but we're going to make this a lot more official coming up in the future. I write also for Fights Across America, Fights Across the World. I am also a beat writer for them, a journalist for them. All AEW, all WWE, all boxing, all sports, period, man. We are doing a damn thing. Everything is up and coming. Our future is bright, just like this beautiful podcast with this beautiful brother right here, who I appreciate and I love. We are the future, plain and simple, for football, for boxing, for wrestling, whatever you need. We are here. I truly appreciate all you guys. I love all you guys. Whatever y'all need, you already know. Let me know. I got you.
Y'all heard it. Check it out. All the wrestling fans, man.
Jackson,
All right,
thank
Coach.
Good to see you,
Yeah, I
bro.
ain't gonna hold you, man. We know we get you back in when you can. But do your thing. Enjoy your weekend, man. We'll keep you in the loop, and we'll get you back in here next week when we're getting ready to roll into this draft, man, and have a whole bunch of fun doing that, man.
Let's finish this month off strong, brothers. Finish it off strong.
Mm-hmm.
All right, brother.
Peace.
All right. Be in touch with you. All right, and then there were two. I think Ice supposed to be popping up in this joint. I think he coming. He might. I don't know. He probably still cooking them steaks up. I don't know what he's doing. But yeah, you and I, brother, we'll rock out this and let's get to it. All right, let's see what this next question is.
A guy like Reese, he actually had an interview. He said he just was kind of out there just figuring stuff up as he goes along. When you look at a guy like that, you're projecting him into an edge position. Like, how do you go about doing that with some type of accuracy? I know it's always a crap shot, but with some type of accuracy.
When you look at the physical tools, and for Abel, I mean, he's one of the more explosive players that I've ever seen. In terms of his burst, his ability to close, his explosion on contact. So he has all the tools to do it. They were using him so much off the ball, on the line of scrimmage. And with a player like that, you can do a lot with early. You can use them in that spinner position, joker, however you want to call it. But you certainly see the flashes there of him being a dominant pass rusher. So I think you're looking at the tools and the upside there.
Driving issue.
So what do you think about that? We're not hearing a lot of chatter about Arvell Reese. I mean, we are at 4. Could possibly be entertained if we entertain the trade back scenario, because that would put more players ahead of us to be taken off of the board, and there might be other players that other teams value more. I don't necessarily think that would be an issue for us at 4, because I mean we all feel like at 1, Mendoza, and then there's only 2 in. But so even if someone trades up, still only 2 positions you're talking about in between, and there are a lot of players that are right there that could definitely go between 2 and 3. I'm not sure necessarily if Reese is one of them. A lot of people may have him going to the Jets, or maybe the Cardinals value him more than we know. But what is your personal stance on Arvell Reese? How are you gauging Borgonzi's response to the question, and how you just feel about that whole thing overall?
Yeah, Arvell Reese, like he said, is a very great athlete. Had a very good combine, very good solid 40-yard dash, and he really was one of the guys that really stood out on Friday. I think that Thursday, besides him and Bailey, those stock rose. I will tell you this, in the top 3, and what I've been hearing over the last couple of days, it's really a coin flip between David Bailey and Arvell Reese at 2. That's what we know. We heard yesterday that Bailey's visit got canceled. I'm not taking anything into account because I think they're both in on both of those guys. But I want to bring up, Arvell Reese didn't have a sack in a game after November 1st. So the biggest question is, I think Ohio State was still trying to figure out where they're going to put him. Is he going to be a full-time edge? Is he going to be off-ball linebacker? He can do anything on the defense. Yeah. That's my still biggest question. Arvell Reese, if you do get him, he's a freak athlete, big, strong. He's 6'4", 243-pound linebacker. He had 6.5 sacks last year. I think that'll be a big playmaker on your defense. And the thing to me is you're rotating guys like a hockey lineup. Hockey guys shift all the time. This defensive line is going to shift all the time. The thing that Arvell Reese, he's a very great run defender, but he needs to get a little bit better at the pass rush. But I think he's going to develop over time. And the Titans are a team that's going to get better as years to come. I think with the right coaching and the right personnel around him, he's going to get better every single year. This edge group is, I think, will get better over time. Arvar Reese is still one of the best players on the board. And yeah, I mean, obviously Borgonzi, we talked about with Sonny Styles. Arvar Reese is a big option for Tennessee. I don't know if Arizona is really favorable in Arvar Reese. Maybe Arizona might go Jeremiah Love. Maybe Arizona, if Arvar Reese does go too, they might go Bailey. We don't know. We don't know, man. I seriously, there's been rumors, everything's coming out. But Arvar Reese, he does have the burst. He has the explosion. He has the ability to make a play, and he has some of the flashes on him. Does he need to improve? Yeah, and I think, like I said, over time, Arvar Reese will show that. But he has the skills and he has the abilities to do so. Every single time you turn on the tape, Arvar Reese is there. Even if he doesn't make a tackle or a sack, he still makes an impact by closing the gap. And I think he'll be a big fail in Robert Saleh's defense. Again, we're still wondering what's going to happen in that top three. Like you mentioned, a ton of players are going to go in that area, right? I expect David Bailey to go there. Jeremiah Love's a sleeper. Maybe he might go in that top three Arizona. I know people are going to hate to hear that. Sonny Styles might go to Dallas. If Dallas trades up for 3, that could very much be on the table. And maybe he's saying that for a trade back. That could be also the possibility. Maybe Dallas does trade up for Reese. I've been hearing the Saints do also want Arvar Reese. Maybe they trade up for Arvell. Maybe, the Saints trade up for Tennessee for $873 and another 4th. So anything's on the table, but if he is there, that's a pick that I am very interested in.
Yeah, I wouldn't be mad. Like I said, I think he could definitely fit into that BPA type of category, all depending on how the board falls. So I wouldn't be mad at it either. I'm going to back it up a little bit and play it and go into the next question. See, I just try to make sure we don't miss the beginning of it.
Spain's driving issue a driving issue, or is it perhaps indicative of a larger issue that would be a larger concern for a team that might draft him?
Yeah, I mean, we've known about that information for a while. We've researched it, discussed it. We've talked to Ruben multiple times. We've had multiple touch points with Ruben, and feel really good about the person. People make mistakes, but we really enjoyed having him in here and discussing a lot of stuff that that had happened before. But we feel good with Ruben.
Was that something he was forthcoming about, or did you guys?
I said they feel good with Ruben. Do you think that they feel good about the situation not happen, but like worried about it, like we don't think that's going to impact him if we drafted him, or we feel good about his skill set, or maybe both? Yeah, what do you take away from that statement? I know you had mentioned that the other day when you brought it up. Yeah, they brought about the situation, and we were talking about that. So yeah, but I mean, but now that we've talked about it and we hear Borgonzi respond to it in real time in a press conference, what's your feedback from that and the whole situation?
Yeah, he said the right things. People do make mistakes, and fortunately, it's a very unfortunate, tragic situation you don't like to see. But the Titans did have him in the building. He met everybody. Before this even came out, when Borgonzi was speaking at the owners' meetings, he says Bain was very impressive. He's a very humbling person. He likes Bain overall, everything about him on and off the field. But again, we're not going to really touch up on that. But everybody knew about it, right? All the teams at the Combine knew about it. Everybody talked to him about it. I do want to bring up this source from A2ZSports.com. Easton Freeze and Austin Stanley put this out. A source from the NFC South team told him they have flipped over the board, which means he might be off the board. I don't think Baines' selection currently right now at 4. Again, anything could change at the moment. He still could be up there, but I just don't see it today being the option. I think Bain is a good player. They feel good about him on and off the field. Even though if he does have those short arms, sure, but I think still as a player, still as a person, I think they feel very good about it. The question is if the Titans do trade down and if he's there, that's a big option for him. If the Titans want to go that route, if he is there at 8 or wherever they're going to trade back to, he might maybe fall out of the top 10. Like we mentioned last episode, I don't think he'll go out of the first round. That's just very hard to imagine. A lot of good things about him. But yeah, he said the right things about it. I think that's a good thing that Borgonzi said. He said all the right things there.
Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah, I think everything will work itself out in that situation. Like I said, unfortunate for what actually happened or whatnot. But yeah, a lot of those guys they knew about it. It's just, but just like I said, I don't want to go too deep into it, but it makes you wonder.
Yeah.
Everyone knew about it.
Mm-hmm.
Why are we now just finding out about? Why is it now just being
Yeah.
Who's doing this? Who's trying to drop his
Yeah.
stock? A lot of people say a Jerry Jones type of thing, trying to drop the stock or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, we'll see. But I do wish him well in his future and endeavors, and just prayers to the family. That was a terrible loss.
Prayers
But
to the family. Mm-hmm.
let's see where we're going next with this.
Was that something he was forthcoming about, or did you guys find out that information and then have to bring it up with him? How did that kind of go?
I think you have a series of questions when you first meet with somebody at a touch point. I think we might have asked the question first, at the combine. But we certainly knew about it. A lot of teams did during the summer.
Anything you learned, I guess, last year, your first go-around as GM, that you have changed up this year, whether it's how many pro days you go to, who you brought in on 30 visits, who was involved in the process, any tweaks that you made?
I think it changes year to year, but certainly you're always looking at ways to improve. I think we've done a tremendous job this year just in terms of working, I guess, the bottom of the board and the backboard between our scouts and coaches. So that's one thing we maybe changed up a little bit this year, just in terms of stacking some of those players and starting on those players earlier.
Can you give us a sense of kind of the dynamic?
So what do you think about it? I'm gonna ask you this question.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see a change or difference, or what would your critique from a fan's perspective or analysis be from Borgonzi from year one to going into year two?
Like the change of him, or
yeah, like from your perspective, have you seen a change? Have you seen an approach? Is there anything that stood out to you? Do you think he's pretty consistent? Are we still learning him? Like what? Just from, like I said, from the outside, from us looking in, what is your perspective on what you've seen or what you expect from Borgonzi?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of both. I think, last year's draft was great. I think he did a great job bringing the guys we brought about that last episode. And, you learn as you go on. I mean, he's a first-year GM. He's done this for many years, assistant GM. It's a very big different thing, right, to go from an assistant to your actual GM, right? So he's learning over time. Things are going to change. All these are going to change. But, I think they're sticking to their board. And he gave credit to the scouts and all the personnel. Done a really good job. We brought it up earlier, right? Everyone in that building is contributing. I think what we've seen, I think we still need to see another draft and see how he's going to process it, how he's going to go through it. But, yeah, we've seen a lot of good things from him. I think he's done a very good job. And I'm very confident in him. And, he has a reason when he's going to do something. I think last year, not after the draft, but you think about it, when you go into the trades aspects of it, we traded around Jarvis and we traded Roger McClary, and fans were questioning it. And at the end of the day, you look at it and you're like, I trust Borgonzi, and I've trusted him the whole time. I trust him in this draft, no matter who he's going to reach on, if he's going to trade back, if he's going to trade up. But I think Borgonzi and the team are learning as long as you go. And that's the point of life, man. You learn as long as you go, and you get better every single day. The staff is getting better every single day. What I've heard from the team is like everybody in the staff is tremendous, and they're all experienced, and experience comes a long way. So that's what I look in Borgonzi and think he's gonna have a good draft this year.
Yeah, I'm happy that this is. I think they got it right. We weren't about Borgonzi getting it right with the picks, but I think they got it right with Borgonzi.
Mm-hmm.
I think we got a great GM, and I don't know if you just got on here, I said it, but I remember saying I'm really excited about this tandem, and I really would love to see Borgonzi and Salo, be together for a while. We've had all these changes and things. Of course, I anticipate coordinators to maybe make a change at some point, but yeah, definitely excited about this combination and hope we can have this.
You bring that up because I think the biggest thing this year is we want to see consistency, right? Because like you mentioned, change affects not just people in the office, it affects the players, right? It affects the players. And you can make the case, like, Will Levis went through 2 offensive coordinators. Cam Ward's gone through 2 coaches so far. Mike McCoy, intern, still counts as a coach, right? So
Yeah.
Consistency is all we need, right? Like you mentioned, the coordinators are going to change one way or another, but I feel very confident in the staff and Borgonzi and everything I've heard from shows and just seeing him. I met him a couple times. He's a genuine football guy who's been around the business for a very long time. He's came up in the business. Believe he started as a scout and then he went to Kansas City for many years, and now he's the GM, and the Borgonzi's done it right. The Titans have done it right. The whole team's gotten it right. So everything I've never heard one bad thing about him. He comes in with a positive attitude, positive mindset, and that's what you want, a GM who's confident in himself. You want somebody who's very confident in and out of the building. So that's who Borgonzi is.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Give us a sense of kind of the dynamic of the war room on Thursday night, what it'll be like.
It's exciting, but when you put in all the work, it's just like before a game. If you're a coach and you feel really good about it, so there's a sense of calmness, but you're excited for draft night. But you feel confident where you're at because you put the work in.
You talked about center and right guard.
Yeah, like I said, right there, I have too much to say. I think that just adds back to the things that we were just saying about continuity and them working together. Because, I mean, I think it'll make situations like this going into the war room a lot more, I don't want to say predictable, but I guess I don't say comfortable either. But I think those two words
I think you can say comfortable. That makes sense, too.
Yeah. But I guess I don't want to say comfortable but not content, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to be like, oh, yeah, but, you still want to kind of have those conversations and always make sure you're analyzing and looking at things and not just, settling in your ways, if you will. So I think that it is good that as they go forward, that this becomes because it's great. I mean, let's just fast forward 4 years later. I mean, it'd been great that Saleh and Borgonzi would have been through this process together as a unit, communicating. That by that time they would have great cohesion, I would assume. And so, I just think it is a stepping stone, a stepping blocks. But going into the war room, like seeing what happened, I mean, it didn't look like that with J. Rob and Mike Vrabel.
Yeah,
that was ready to turn to a literal war room, like for real.
Yeah, I remember his face that night, and I think I still have the meme of him standing up. I'm like, oh, geez.
Yeah. He went into the corner.
That was all of us. That was all of us on that one night in April 2022. I was standing there in the corner, being like, "What in the heck just happened?"
Yeah, he walked away like a disappointed father, man.
I did too. I walked away my house this point. I'm like, "What?" Anyway, we'll talk about that later. But
that was crazy. But it's good to have the cohesion, and I'm glad that he seems complacent on the energy that's going to be in the room that night.
You talked about center and right guard being areas that you want to create competition for camp.
Yep.
And how far into this draft can you find centers and right guards who can come in and compete day one start?
I think there's good depth in this draft, the interior offensive line, day one and even 2 and 3, Terry. Those guys, you can find guys in those middle rounds that have especially those interior offensive linemen. It's a lot of intangibles they're looking for. Smart, tough guys. And some of those guys maybe not have tested well, and that's why they didn't get taken higher. But a lot of these guys play in the league, so I think there's some good depth in this draft there.
I think that goes back to what we were talking about. We were talking about the tackles. So, I mean, should we expect, some offensive linemen coming in the middle part of this draft rather than earlier or later? I think if you want to find more value because of, like you said, some guys might get pushed down the board, then we possibly could be looking at a guy on day 2 or 3, maybe even 3. I mean, 3 is like I said, I really think the magic is going to happen that we have a lot of picks. If he does do a trade down in the second and pick up additional picks, that could also be a factor as well. And then maybe we get it on day 2 in the 3rd round. I'm not sure how he wants to play this. But it does seem like, a lot of defensive questions throughout this conference that I still think this would be a more offensive-driven draft. What is your takeaway from his response about the offensive lineman?
Yeah, he's right. There's a lot of good guys in this draft, and I have videos coming about it later this week. But, Manuel Pregon, and to me maybe the talk starts about 35 when we talk about the tackle. Manuel Pregon, Chase Fasanis, Caleb Rutledge, and those are guys who are absolute dogs. Like, those are guys that can fit the mold. Rutledge is my option at 66 if they go receiver higher. I really am high on Caleb Rutledge. I've had him almost half my mock drafts. I've had Rutledge. The thing about the competition as center, and we've talked about this last episode, Slotman and Slater. I expect those two guys to be the competition. It wouldn't shock me if they had a third guy in that role. I wouldn't be surprised if they had like a Logan Jones or Jake Slaughter in that third or maybe fourth round. That's where they want to go. But there's a ton of depth in this draft. One guy that I'm really liking at guard is Billy Schwab. And Jeremiah Love, offensive lineman from Notre Dame. And if you evaluate it down the board, there's a ton of guys. And I know Murph brought up earlier, Ball Stevens from Iowa is a guy that can fit the mold. So a ton of options. And if you do trade back, I do like potentially an offensive line at 12. I know people are going to kind of comment and be like, no, but you need offensive line. And I think that's a hole that Titans have been missing for years. But there is a ton of depth. This offensive line class is great. There could be 8 offensive linemen or 9 offensive linemen go in the first round. That could very much happen. This offensive line class from offensive tackle to offensive guard is very depth. And I think there's a ton of good options. The Titans can swing the bat. And there's really no bad option wherever they go at center, right guard. I think people are overjudging that this offseason because I think Slotman does have a chance to start in 2026, which I absolutely think that's a very favorable thing. And guy like Rutledge makes sense at guard. Zeitler, we'll see what happens with that. But I think day 2 or day 3 makes a lot of sense. Third or fourth round makes a lot of sense to go at guard or center.
Yep, you're right. I'm just hoping, like I said, I trust the process. Whatever he goes, I'm gonna be fine with. I said at the end of the day, that's why I never really get too attached to these things, because even after the selection, I'm still, and me personally, in the mentality of, okay, great selection, or I can see this working, but I still need to see it come September.
Right, exactly, yeah.
Does 8 minutes affect you at all?
No, I'm actually happy about it. But a lot of these guys play.
From 10 minutes to 8 minutes affect you at all?
No, I'm actually happy about it.
Oh, okay.
It gets round 1 going faster, so it won't have much of an effect.
It did.
Back to the offensive line stuff, not necessarily a knock on.
Just say for those that don't know, I think what it was is they shortened the window of time selection, right?
Yeah, and all the picks, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
I thought,
like 2 minutes. It was like 2 minutes, so yeah. Because remember last year the Titans didn't even need 10 minutes. Like we already knew, like walking into the door, like it's gonna be Cam, and the same thing in the Raiders. Like we already know it's gonna be Mendoza. So I
think he knows throughout the whole round, the draft, just because he's drafting he's ready for however it falls. So like, oh, this happens, all right, we'll go here. I mean, you might have to evaluate and see, but I think they have those things automated to where you can have and see what your board, who from your board, if we can do it with these mock drafts on here, I'm pretty sure that $1 billion industry has the right software for them to navigate. So yeah, they were just referencing the adjustment in time that they are allowed to select in this draft, which is shortened by 2 minutes. You said right from 8 to 10.
8 to 10. Yeah, 10 to 8. Yeah.
But all right, let's roll.
Back to the offensive line stuff. Not necessarily a knock on college coaching, but just how different the game is for the offensive linemen. Is it kind of like starting from square one as soon as they get here, no matter how ready you think they might be?
Yeah, that's a good question, Buck. And I think there's 2 things. I think the game has changed, obviously, so much. I remember even going back to 2013, we had the first pick with Eric Fisher, and so much guys playing out of 2-point stances because the pass game and quick game, but certainly there's another element now with these guys, moving school to school, and not having consistency with coaching, and with consistency comes, you have to have fundamentals. So I think that's a big part of it. A lot of these guys have to come in here and get back to the basics with fundamentals.
The melding of a new coaching staff with.
Like I said, I don't have too much to say on that personally. I think that's across the board. Like Coach said earlier, one of the most. Were you in here when he said who? No, he said which position? I might be paraphrasing it, but which position produces the most consistent?
Oh no, I wasn't here. No.
Yeah, he was like, which one the most which position produces the most or most consistent blue chip players, and it was running back. And then I think it went to safety, and then edge, and then so forth. But yeah, I think there's always a transition from that, especially tackle on the offensive line, regardless, because you're going up with guys like everyone's fast and strong. You know, it's not the same as in college, and so I think there is an adjustment. But I think that just if you can have the right intangibles in place, and I mean, I think coaching can help you with that. You know, correct, especially if you have a good unit, and they're not because if you had if you're the best player on the line, then I mean, all the defensive attention is going to come to you. And so, you know, but if you have a good unit, then they have to pick their poison and spread out their defense. So that also helps. But yeah, I think we'll be fine if we do get a guy in here because I mean that's what it's about. We trust the organization, we trust the process, we trust the coaching, and so whoever it is, you know, has to do it and show up and show out. Let's see.
The scouting staff gone. As you put together the board and do you expect, or A, do you expect it, and B, how much was there kind of a friction in the coming together of opinions?
I think you're always going to have healthy discussions, and no one's going to, if you're agreeing on everything, it's not good. So you need to have those healthy discussions. You know, before the draft, whether it's between the scouts or between the scouts and the coaches, and sometimes they can bring up things too that we may have not seen. So I think you always have to have an open mind, and you can't be stubborn when you first evaluate a player and say this is the grade I gave him. Now you want to stand strong on what you really think of the player, but if you feel like yeah, maybe I missed that, and that's the biggest thing, having humility in the process. But that part of it has been great, Paul, with the coaches. We've had a lot of communication here over the last couple of months, even dating back to free agency. They've been really good to work with.
Mike, you talked about last year when
I think that just adds to the continuity that I was saying, and that there isn't really like a bias or, it's my way or the highway type of thing going on here. So I like to be able to see that, that we that he's saying that they have that in the organization because, I want to hear your point of view. Like, so maybe it's something I missed, or maybe you can show something out to me, or maybe I can teach something to you. So being able to have people with the perspective where they're willing to listen to each other, work together well, and cover all bases can only benefit us better in the long run.
Yeah, it's all about team building, and the biggest thing is in this organization and every organization, they want to win, right? That's the biggest thing. And again, like he said, some guys are going to disagree. Maybe you might have like a guy like this high, and then you might have someone who's a little bit lower. And then you might ask somebody like, why do you have him a little lower? Well, maybe it's because his injury history might be trouble. Maybe you look at this guy, like maybe he didn't have the best combine. It's really everything's on the table, right? And I think the scouts, like he just said, everyone's working together. This team's together. This team's leadership and energy has been really up in the roof. So that's my point. So.
You talked about last year when you took the job how you're going to be patient in this process and stick to plans and try and accumulate assets. Going into this draft, how far along are you in that process, and how big is next week towards your ultimate goal of what you're building?
Yeah, I mean the opportunity, the draft is the lifeblood of your organization when you're bringing in players that you can develop and develop your culture. So every draft is really important. I think, we added some really good players, I think, in free agency that helped us. And I've talked about this before. Just in terms of some guys that had played for some of the coaches we have here, Coach Sowell and Coach Dable. So that has helped us. But, every draft is vital, when you have an opportunity to acquire young players that you can develop and really build in your culture.
So what's your feedback on that? No, you're good.
First of all, it brings up the point with free agency. I mean, they have ace free agency. I mean, I'm just going to say that out there. We kind of hinted about it last time. They've got players who Saleh and Dable are familiar with on both sides of the ball, right? For example, Wanda Robinson was familiar with Dable. Slotman was familiar with Basilio and Dable, right? There's familiarity everywhere on both sides of the ball. Cornell Flott was familiar with Brian Dable in New York, right? So my point is they're bringing in players that make sense for the team, and they already know. young players and developing. That's the biggest goal. And Borgonzi, for his whole time in GM in Kansas City, he likes to build through the draft. When Borgonzi got here, the Titans were struggling at producing players in the draft. I can arguably say that. We can talk about that. We can maybe do something. We can look at previous drafts and be like, oh, wow, like that's a big whiff, right? So building a team is also through the draft, and you need to get enough young players on both sides of the ball. It doesn't matter, offense, defense, special teams, bam. Like you need young, good players everywhere. I feel like over the last couple of years, the Titans, before Borgonzi came in as GM, and even with Rand, even with John, they were struggling to find those guys. And that's why Borgonzi is very patient. He trusts everybody around the room. And I think last year's draft was just a little show. Like, I think it's a start of something good. And I think this is going to be another good draft this year, just the way how he speaks about it and how he looks at the players in the draft.
Absolutely. Couldn't have said it better. Yeah, I agree with everything you said. Just really curious and anxious to actually see it all play out.
I agree with you. Yeah, and it's like Borgonzi we talked about earlier. Like the thing is, like, I feel like the draft day is gonna be Christmas morning. We brought up last episode, man. I'm gonna wake up like feel so much joy and be like, oh my gosh, it feels like Christmas morning. Like I'm pumped up. Like I'm excited. Let's do this thing. I want to do the draft right now. Like I'm ready to go. Like I feel that confidence. Like he said that too. Like I want to do the draft right now. Right? Let's go. Let's do this thing. Right? Let's all the scenarios we've been talking about since the end of last year to now. Like everything's coming to full. Like let's do this thing. So we're all very excited.
Oh yeah, man! I can't wait.
Those healthy disagreements that I'm sure all teams have. If there was a player that you absolutely loved that Robert did not like, would that be hard for you to draft that player knowing that he's the one that has to coach him? Or is this where you being the personnel guy and being assigned the job of building the roster versus coaching the roster would take a precedence?
Yes, you would never take a player that a coach does not want. It's happened over the years. I've seen it. I've been in the league for a long time. That's how you develop friction in the organization. You need buy-in when you're taking these players. So whether it's a position coach or it's the head coach, that's why you have so many of these discussions, headed into the draft. And you never want to force a player onto a coach that they don't believe in.
No, I think that's kind of what we were saying earlier about the continuity and them being able to listen to each other and vibe off each other. I think that really goes right back to that point. So, so far, and it's a little bit left, but so far I'm picking up on continuity. I'm picking up on open-mindedness. I see a vision with intent. And so, without me trying to say, they're going to pick this person. That's when I say, if you ever hear me say I pay attention to the intangibles, that's the type of stuff. So this is what I see here. Has anything done the same for you, solidify, validate anything that you may have already assumed or thought about Borgonzi and his process? And there's still yet more to be seen, but we're only taking what we have versus what we've seen. But has anything from this presser or that statement there, giving you that same validity and just the fact that they have this open-mindedness when it comes to working together and not trying to be my way or your way. The fact that what he said is it harms the organization. It's critical, and he's saying it in what I would seem like is preventative. Like we don't even want that type of friction. We don't need friction. We need cohesion. So but yeah, what do you just how does that make you feel, or what does that do for you?
Yeah, like you mentioned, I think it's just great to see everybody on the table, everyone's on board, right? And that's the one good thing, right? You don't want any friction, right? You don't want any bad negative vibes in the room. You don't want any of that stuff to happen, right? Him and Robert Saleh have worked really well so far this offseason on agreeing this guy, and they brought in great players, like you just mentioned a couple minutes ago. Everybody's been working together. Again, like he said, not everybody's going to agree, and that that's going to happen, right? He said the thing about the scouts as well, but I've seen so much, and again, it's really also going to come in confidence, like we mentioned earlier. but we've seen so much good vibe, not good vibes, but just good energy, good leadership, and everybody's gonna have a voice and everybody's working together. Like I just mentioned earlier, everyone's working together for one goal. That's the biggest thing here. But it feels great to see, everybody, when you're looking at your draft board, everything like this, everyone's gonna have a reason and being like why I value this guy. But Borgonzi and Sala and Dable have worked together so far in the month they have almost 3 months they've worked together so far. I mean, it's been a good showing so far. So continuing is a very good word to use right there.
Let me see. I think I got it right here. All right, back up a little bit.
If I can follow up, what's kind of the line of, at the end of the day, I'm the personnel guy, I'm the general manager, been working with the scouts for months on this, and you're a coach who's not a personnel guy, of making him maybe see things the way that you want him to see them or the way that you see them?
You have those discussions heading into the draft, but if you can't come to an agreement on a player, like I said, I've seen it happen before. It's not good for the relationship. It's not good for the player either when you don't have buy-in from the coaching that when you take them.
Yeah, right there. I don't think it's like I said. I think that adds to the same thing that we were just saying. I don't think it's too much to say about that. I think he just doubled downs on that in a different way. So, yeah, it just makes me feel that much better that we can see it that way and that we actually headed that direction.
Agree there.
This class will be tailored to support Cam if he needs.
I think you're always looking to support the quarterback, and certainly protection is one. Getting them playmakers is another thing. So to answer your question, yes, I think that is important.
Season program, but while we're talking about Cam, how's he looking in the rehab process?
Good. He's been out there. I'm sure you've seen some of the videos online and throwing, and he looks good. He's trending in the right direction.
He'll be throwing during minicamp?
Yeah, I mean, right now I think he's trending that way. So yes.
Any early feel? I know there's not that much going on, but for Robert's tone and themes and stuff like that in the early gathering of who's here.
Yeah, no, I think it's been great. You could feel the kind of the excitement and the energy in the building when they first came in. I was in that first team meeting, and Robert does a very good job of laying down the expectations and standards, and you felt like everybody knew where they were going when you left that meeting, and in terms of what he wants for this team, this football team, and that's a big part of leadership. But you can feel the excitement just walking around the building with the guys being in here over the last couple of weeks.
That puts me kind of let a few of those roll because they were kind of very similar. But yeah, hearing about Cam, I never was really worried about Cam's injury because he never had to have surgery to fix it. And that's I think because when we were talking about it a couple months ago, I was like, he never had surgery. If we'd had surgery, I mean, I still think we would have been fine, but that usually, one, indicates a more severe injury, and two, gives you a longer timetable for healing. So the fact that he didn't have the injury, I think we're great with him. That was never my issue. But hearing about, Roberts, and I'm not surprised at that either, hearing about his impact or the presence that he had in the team meeting and just hearing Borgo's feedback on what he saw. And I mean, even if it wasn't, you're not going to make him, look bad, but I don't think he would. The type of guy he is, I don't think he would just volunteer. He would have found another way to answer it, is kind of what I'm saying. But yeah, that's good that they're off to a great start, that the energy is there. I mean, we're seeing all of these workout videos. These guys seem to be, I seen one with Alec and KJ Osborne, out there, working together, doing their thing. And it's good to see that they're just finally, something that's contagious. But you can actually see guys just jumping in immediately and just like, okay, what you need? What you need me to do? Let's do this. Seeing JFM and Jeff hanging together, like I see them in a lot of pictures. Like I'm thinking they might be roommates at this point. But it's good to see everyone loving the energy, loving the buy-in, and then having, you said, the type of leader that can actually lead this men when they're seemingly in the position where they're eager to be led. So I feel good about that. So what's your drawback? How do you feel about Cam's rehab process and Robert's early impact.
Yeah, Cam looks good. You know, he's throwing, and I don't know if it gets mentioned now, but it sounds like he will be ready by training camp, and that's huge. You know, and that was, you know, I'm glad, like you mentioned, he didn't get surgery. You know, I mean, if he got surgery or not, I think it would have been fine. Cam will be back by training camp, which is June. I think that's like early June. I think it's like the 6th is when they start the training camp. I believe, top of my head, but that's a good positive sign. He will miss workouts in April. He will miss the May workouts, which is totally fine with. He's throwing. He's looking good. We saw him throw with one Robinson. Seen a couple of videos of him throwing, like Borgonzi just mentioned. So Cam's looking good, and I think he's good on his rehab spot. I won't even be surprised if Cam gets thrown in there in the end of May, just because of how confident and how good he feels. His spirits are good, if I've been hearing. His energy's high. He's feeling good about this team. He loves Brian Dable. So everything I've been hearing from the team. The thing about Robert Saleh, though, that does not surprise me at all, because everything we've seen on social media, everything we've heard from all the players, when Robert Saleh got hired, I count at least like 30 players, like Titans, and then there were like at least like maybe a handful outside that reposted it because like they were happy for Saleh, guys on the Niners, guys on the Jets, you know. And I think Robert Saleh is more happy in Tennessee, right? Because he finally gets to call defensive plays as a head coach. He never got the chance to do that in New York. His energy's on the roof. He's very excited. And I think this is a young team and they need something to be rallied by. And I think Saleh is going to be that guy to bring the energy to the room is what I've seen.
Yep. Can't wait to see it on the field. Yep.
How important a piece is this to you in the preparation in terms of trying to figure out what everyone else is doing, and by the same token, you have to show up with us today wearing a bat for your end too?
It's just part of it. I mean, you have to listen to it. You know, you do hear it scuttle, whether it be on, you know, social media or people you're talking to in the league. You're trying to collect information and you're trying to figure out what is the right information. But at the end of the day, you have to stay true to your board, know what you have there. And like I said, we've put a ton of work in right now, so we feel really comfortable, you know, heading into the draft, no matter what happens.
You know, that's something that Bo had mentioned earlier about the smoke screen. It was just that he was just excited that like you said, it's a game within a game or whatever, and he's down to play. He's like, okay, yeah, we all do a little, you know, smoke city in here. He respects it. It doesn't take. It is what it is type of attitude, and he understands. And you listen to it. You know, you understand, because I mean, it might not be what's presented, but I do think that there is something to take away from it, whether it be a deflection or it be the truth, or you know, it's always something. Nothing to overthink, like Coach Murph would say, but definitely, this is. I mean, I think in most sports in general. I mean, it's kind of, you know, I want to say business 101, but yeah, it's kind of how you keep, you know, people on their toes, you keep people out your business, and you can kind of control the narrative from your perspective the best you can without really showing your hand. But yeah, I love it. I love it. Got somebody that's willing to play ball, man. That's awesome.
Also have to participate in
it. Sure. That's the game within the game. Yeah.
It is.
When you look at this draft, is it unique to where there's more top-level players at non-premium positions?
Yeah, you could say that. Yeah. You know, certainly the Ohio State guys, the safety, linebacker, they're really good players. And you know, it's just one of those drafts where, you know, just so happens there's a lot of non-premium positions that are impact players. Yeah.
Obviously, that's a
you know that might hint to, you know who that might hint to? Jeremiah Love. I can see that a little bit. I'll tell you this: he brought up Ohio State, Ohio State team, right? And Ohio State's going to have at least, I think, 3 or 4 guys in the top 10. I might be forgetting some on the top of my head, but they're going to have a lot of guys in the draft with Arvar Reese, with Sonny Styles, and Carnell Tate, and Caleb Downs, who nobody's been mentioning. he brings up the point, and that also can mean linebacker Sonny Styles, because that also can mean, because linebacker isn't a premier position, but if you can get an upgrade at linebacker, yeah, you're taking that all the way. If you that's also can mean that. It could mean Love, could mean Styles. That's really what it could mean. Those two guys. That's kind of what I took out of it. More a little bit of Styles, because linebacker, I think if you look at it, linebacker is, you have Barton, but if you can upgrade with Styles, have him paired with Cedric Gray, and both those guys can develop together on that team, especially how young they are, that's something too.
Yeah.
And it can mean the same for Love in that running back room with Dable as well.
Right. And this is why I just can't kill all the speculation. And then we can really evaluate the roster. I'm curious to see how all the comments once we get past the draft.
What are your thoughts on the top end of this receiver group?
I think it's a deep receiving class, and I think the top end is really good. I feel good about in day one and even 2 and 3. I think there's some really good ones here.
I'm gonna just
I like that.
I'm gonna ask you this because they definitely see something, and this is why I trust the process, because I don't know who or where, and that's because you can't control who it is. But I definitely am excited to see who this is. But I'm gonna ask you just a general question on if I don't. Let's say we go Love. Now, I'm not going to say what position or what. Just ask you this question: if you realistically guarantee yourself one receiver to walk away with from this draft, who would it be?
You're talking about first, second round, third round? I mean, anywhere in this draft?
Take Love in the first. I mean, unless you want it, I mean, you could say first.
Okay.
I'm just assuming, trying to paint a scenario. So, assuming that we do go Love in the first, so anywhere from the second on, I'm not going to say which, but as long as we walk away with this guy. But realistically, it's not like you're going to, say Love and I would get Tate. So that's why I'm like trying to keep it like something that's actually could happen. But from your personal perspective, if we could at least walk away with this guy, I feel good about receiver from the draft.
Denzel Boston and Chris Bell, guys that come to mind. Those are the two guys I like at 35. Denzel Boston, it could be an X receiver. Both these guys could very much. And Denzel Boston had 20 touchdowns last 2 years, very productive on offense. And, he made the Huskies offense made better. And he only had a couple drops in last year. Good versus man coverage, good contested ball rate. That's a guy, if he falls to 35, I know Easton Free said this in the recent thing, that's a home run. That's like a grand slam, which in baseball, and that's how I think of it, right? If Chris Bell, there's been rumors it could be Casey Conception, who that could be an option if he does go there. Those are two guys, maybe more Denzel Boston, but Chris Bell is a guy who I'm very high on. I've talked to Tron Davenport, who's also very high on him, and these guys do like Chris Bell, and and he's great also for his man coverage. Had a good year last year, even though he tore his ACL, right? He tore it in November of last year. He's still a very productive player, and he's been getting related a lot to AJ Brown. Chris Bell is a lot like AJ Brown, and they both have the size, they both have the ability, they both have the speed, they both have a lot of good traits to them. Those are two guys that if you tell me, like, I would walk away after on Saturday evening saying, okay, if we get one of those guys at 35, and I'm very confident on that. That's my answer with Boston, either Bell. It's just really going to matter who's going to be on the board, but those are my two guys I'm very high on. And you know what? I want to bring this up because I think this is the next question. It sounds crazy, but if you do trade back, Jordan Tyson could be a very big option for the Titans.
True.
It could be a very big option. They're not scared of his medicals. They are very interested, right? And if you need a Premier X, and Tyson has probably the best athletic skills coming out of the draft. The biggest problem is his medicals. And the Titans are one of those teams who are not scared. So if Borgonzi does trade down, they can very much take the punch, and they can go Tyson wherever they land if they trade down.
Yeah, you're right. And just to add a note to it, I've heard Chris Bell referred to from a few people as baby AJ. So that absolutely connects with the point that you made. Let's see.
You know, we take all those medical and even 2 and 3. I think there's some really good options there.
Tyson. Yeah, this is Tyson.
Okay.
Those concern you.
You know, we take all those medical information. It wasn't concerning to us at the end of the day. But every team might see it differently, though, Jared.
Trading down from 35 rather than 4, how much easier is it because there's less separation between the talent?
At 35?
You're going down from 35 rather than 4.
Yeah. It depends. Really, draft to draft, it really depends. Some guys you don't expect sometimes that come out of round 1. You think they're going to get taken in round 1, right? Everyone's draft board is a little bit different. So, you know, I think you have to look at the cluster of players that you have in there. Sometimes when you're picking high in the second, there's a player that you really like, I think you just take the player. Now, there's 2 or 3 players that you like at the same value, and you think you move back a little bit and still get that one of those players, then you do that. So I think it varies year to year, you know, sitting at the top of that second round.
How do you feel about older guys coming out? Was a 25-year-old.
Yeah, I think I think that's something we touched on earlier. So I mean, he pretty much everything's really coming full circle. I mean, pretty much said it. I mean, if the player's there, you take him. I mean, you take him. I mean, just like in the fourth. Like, I mean, it's kind of really the same scenario in the first and the second. If the guy's there, you take him. But if you feel like, you know, we could take him, but I think it's a few players that we can value the same. That, like you said, if we did slide back a bit, we could possibly grab one of those guys while gaining additional picks. So it's one of those day of type of decisions. But the fact that he's, you know, aware of it, conscious, and understands how to maneuver in those situations, just again, another thing that just really adds to the validity of my belief in Borgonzi.
Yeah, it's also going to really matter again what's going to be on the board if they, you know, at 4, if Love does go, and you know if they're not as high. I mean, I'm not gonna say not as high, but maybe they're more on Love than they are in Reese. We don't know. Maybe Dallas does want Styles, and they're offering 3 picks for him. Yeah, go for it. So that's really what's also going to come to play too. It's really who's there and what's the plan overall.
Yeah, like you said, sometimes you got players to drop out the first that you didn't expect to be there, and I mean, if a player's that good, yeah, I mean, because we 35, so we 3rd overall, right?
Yeah, well, it's funny because we had 35 last year. Borgonzi traded out of it. So last year, if fans, you know, bring it up, they traded 35, and I think it was 52, and it was 81, I believe it was. I have to look it up, but it was one of those picks for Seattle. They trade back to Seattle. Seattle got that safety from South Carolina, and the Titans end up getting Femi, and they got Kevin Winston. And again, that very much could be the case. You can see a team trade back in that scenario, and then the Titans can obviously get that 2 good picks and that value. So picks 52 and 82 from Seattle. That's why I just looked it up for 35. So again, that's a very big, strong possibility. I mentioned that. I'm going to mention that in a video. It's already getting processed, but you never know. Anything's on the table.
How do you feel about older guys coming out? Was a 25-year-old doing as well as he was doing because he was beating up 21-year-old in some cases? And B, how do you feel about a guy starting his career with you, you know, that old?
Yeah, it's just, you know, it's part of it now. You know, I think there's a lot less juniors coming out since COVID. I think it might be, I forget the exact number, it's probably half the players of juniors that have come out, so young guys. So the draft is become older, especially, I guess, on day 3. A lot of guys that will come back for NIL money. But that's just part of it. I do think there's an element of guys having more maturity, though, when you're taking them there. Some of the guys are more fundamentally sound. But certainly you're balancing that of a younger player that still has a higher ceiling, too. So you do have to take that into account, though, especially if there's injuries to an older player.
Where's NIL?
Yeah, I was talking to somebody about that the other day, but I'm like, they might make money, and I do think some of these things are affected. I think Will Levis is an example of an older player who came out and got drafted, if I'm not mistaken. I think he was like 23 or 24 or something like that when he came.
Somewhere around there, yeah.
Yeah. But the NIL money, I think, I don't forget who it was, but I was just saying, look, they're going to make their money for sure, but unfortunately, unless we're talking about college or, it's a reference, like, I'm making a broad statement, but I'm trying to say, like, people don't remember, like, college players. Like, people don't.
Yeah.
It's not a conversation when it comes to football. You have to go to, like, college football, specifically going there, but that doesn't get the national attention or, the NFL does. So, like, if you care about your career, your legacy, then you're going to want to make it to the league because, and then you can only stay in college for so long. And so if you really want to, move on and actually make a name for yourself and try to build, a resume, that you get to the league and stuff. So, I do like the fact that they're giving these players somewhat of a chance, but there's pros and cons to everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, when you're ready to make that next step and actually build because the college only matters, I would say, as good as the player becomes. If you're stops at college, which is fine. Like I said, I'm not trying to knock it, but we're talking about the NFL and in comparison. This is where the legacies are built. Legacies aren't built in college. That'll just be amongst your alma mater. But you want a legacy, you want to be talked about, you want to be remembered, you want to get brought up in conversations, then you make it to the league and you make a name for yourself.
Agree. And then the one player I want to bring up who's a little more on the older side, who I'm a fan of, is Treylon Stukes from Arizona, who is 24 years old, I believe, today. I'm currently on this day. But, yeah, the older guys are options, too. Again, this Titans team is more on the younger side. I think the average age is like 26 and a half, I believe, top of my head. So
definitely
everyone gets a fair shot. So,
yeah. Like I said, if they see the value and they take them. Hey, like you said, somebody kind of the upside can be the maturity in it. So, all depends on. But I think that they scouted for that as well. Make sure that we're not bringing anybody that's going to be a cancer to the culture.
Exactly.
Really hope that they do.
Yeah, we know who we're all talking about. We all know who we're talking about 2020 draft.
Yeah. Oh, we've been through some times, man. But hey, it could have been worse.
Where has NIL money and players staying in college, where has that affected the draft most?
I would say on day 3, because a lot of guys will get projections, after the season and where they go, and if they feel like they can go back, if they get a lower round projection and they feel they can go back and still make money in NIL, they'll go back to school. You've seen it more in the later rounds, for sure.
Obviously feel good about, your preparation heading into the draft, but like the night before, is there any sense of nerves or anxiety? Like what is maybe that night before, like kind of the 3-day chaos like for you?
Yeah, it feels like, when as a player, it feels kind of like game day. This is our game day. This is so you do. That's always natural, I think, to have some, I call it nervous energy sometimes, but that's a good thing, though.
For Hendon on the roster.
It was a good question. I think it's good to understand the perspective of, especially, for us. I think it's a good question in general, but, be a little biased here and accept the advantage that it was asked, for our GM and our fan base. Something that I think people don't really overlook. They just kind of look at the results and the decisions, but you never think about some of the preparation, especially like the day of. Like, it has to be way different. We are excited for sure. But I think this is like the GM showcase. This is when they get judged for. This is what they get scrutinized for, the people that they bring in here. Also how you handle contracts, but I think the draft more so is where you really hear a lot of conversations critique general managers more than anything else. Like I was just speaking on, when you was here, I was just speaking on the Dolphins in that draft with they could have got Justin Herbert, but they ended up getting Tua. And then the Chargers came in at 6 and got Justin. And then when they were at 18, they picked up Austin Jackson. But then at 22, the Vikings came in and got Justin Jefferson. So it's like you were in position. You could have had Herbert and Justin Jefferson on the same team, Miami. But hey, that would have been crazy.
Wild. That would have been wild.
That would have been a while. They would have definitely hit on that one. And then Mike McDaniel's over there running. And then what if they would have still ended up with Tyreek? Oh my
God.
Whew. Wow. Amazing. But yeah, woulda, coulda, shoulda. But it's good because I think it also exposes the human element. Like we're all excited, but I'm human too. I'm here to do it. I'm prepared, but I'm not gonna lie if I say I don't get nervous. I get a little nervous. Listen, I think it's about one more question. It's about 30 seconds left on this clip. Let's see what this.
Hendon on the roster. Obviously, Cam is the starting quarterback. You guys made the financial commitment to Mitch. He's the backup. Will's still on the roster, but you guys brought in Hendon Hooker. Walk us through that.
Yeah, he obviously had a great career at Tennessee, and he's had some unfortunate injuries. But we brought him in here to work out, and had a really good workout, and he's a high character kid. So I think he's been a great addition to the room so far.
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, that is also a great question. I would.
To a man who eats, sleeps, and breathes the National Football.
Got a lot going on here. Rest in peace. Shout out Coach Mac, man.
Mac, man. That definitely still doesn't even feel real, man. I was just thinking about that earlier. I was just talking a little bit to Jim and Wyatt, who does Tennessee Titans, and he's a very passionate guy. Really, the two best. Everybody in the organization is great. I've gotten to know a couple people, but truly, the two factors are Jim and then Coach Mack. We're like probably the two faces of the Titans organization, just because they've been there for so long.
Yeah,
and they're so loved by everybody. Jim has always great stories. Coach Mack has always had great stories. And the funny thing is, we'll talk about this. I make an episode about it too. Coach Mack, he coached one of my dad's friends, right, back in Chicago Bears '86. It was on the offense though, but Coach Mack still gave me a whole report about him. He gave my dad a report. My dad's like, you didn't have notes in front of you. That's just who he is. He just takes time out of your day to talk to you and be passionate. Even though he's out doing something else, he'll still take time to talk to you. So Rip Coach Mack, man, that's still doesn't feel real. So
yeah, no, it doesn't. It doesn't, and it won't be.
Won't be.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward. I'm hoping. I'm really hoping. People come through and I can put together this tribute video that I want to do. Hoping to get a lot of fan engagements on that. That's going to be awesome. But yeah, no, that was a great question because I think it's one that a lot of people look at. I think we even touched it. I think we're talking about Ridley and Levis, but just talking about it is because right now actively you have 4 QBs. We right now I think we can say with confidence you're not going into the season.
Yeah, you're not going.
Quarterbacks. So I just think thinking to be Trubisky and Hendon, and they'll play for number 2 respectively. And I think the best thing to do with Will is because his resume left off of him, leaving out on the team and going to get surgery. Kind of a hard guy to shop. If you will. If I got to move on, from a guy earlier, try to at least trade to get some value from him. So I think you want to kind of let him heal up, let Dayball get his hands on him, coach him up a little bit, showcase him in the preseason. Hey, look what we got. Especially some teams that might be getting hesitant and not so sold on their quarterback position and may want to add some depth into that. A team that I said before and I'll say again, I could definitely see him being a good fit for the Rams.
Yeah,
because I just think that Will Levis does have potential. I just think he was in a bad system. But we've got our guy, and it wouldn't be fair to bury him in this system. He deserves a chance to shine just like Malik did, and I think being with McVay could definitely help him, especially sitting behind Matthew Stafford for a year. Could definitely do him wonders, and I could definitely seeing him being very competitive and a formidable opponent come 2027, if that's the case. But I do think from our perspective, get him healthy, get him right, showcase him preseason, shop him, done. Get ready for this 2027 draft. So yeah, I think that's it. Is there anything that you took away from the press conference that you might want to add into when we get out of here, or anything that because I'm pretty sure you saw it earlier that you may have wanted to touch on before you came in here, because I know we were kind of already rolling and you didn't get a chance to address anything. I just kind of want to give you the floor before I just wrap this thing up. So.
No, again, I appreciate you. This was fun to do this, and it was a blast. And I'm very excited. We're just so close away. I mean, it doesn't even feel real that it's coming up next week. I do also want to talk about. I wasn't in here, but when you're thinking about every single pick, impact players is going to be the goal for the Titans. No matter where you're looking at, what position, like I mentioned earlier, the best player available is what he said, and. And I truly am thinking they have a plan at 4. And, like I mentioned, if Reese and Bailey do go, which I've been getting the sense, and I've heard that those guys are on the board as well. I do think Bailey and Reese are on the Titans board, along with Jeremiah Love. I believe Styles is there as well. Again, I'm not going to 100% confirm it, but we don't know the board. But I think those guys are the board. And, Borgonzi really likes Bailey and he likes Reese. I think if they're prepared to go, I think Tennessee does have the backup plan. I know he talked about that and all options. And I think Borgonzi, I'm excited to see what he's going to do in draft number 2. I think we're going to see a lot of good things. And really, we're going to see what the mold of Mark Borgonzi is. And, I think we're going to really see what he wants to do with this team and, add positions. And I know Coach Murph added in earlier, linebacker in the 3rd round is a big possibility. So, any position, I trust Borgo, and we'll do. Hopefully, I'll be back when we do the official mock draft. We got to do at least one before we start this thing off. And when we get out of here, I'm going to post. I did a mock draft earlier. I did trade back situations, so that will be out a little bit later. So,
Okay.
Excited. Let's do it. Let's roll. I wish it was tonight. That way, we can talk about the off season a little more. But you know what? 7 days away. And Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, I know you'll be there. Good luck to you in all the travels, and stay safe. And yell loud and proud for all of us here in Nashville and all over the world who can't be there in Pittsburgh. But be the voice. Be the voice out there. You're probably going to lose your voice, but it's okay because you're a true passionate fan. So lose your voice, have fun, and have fun. There you go. And we'll see if we do draft who it is going to be at number 4 in the first round.
Yeah. That's going to be really, really exciting. It's a first for me. But, I'm going to do a lot of street interviews with a lot of fans out there to try to get their, their perception because, like we said, we have ours to talk to the guys on X, online, on social media, but it'll be a definitely different perspective to be able to engage with people live and in person. The old school way. This is how we do it. This is how it's done.
Yeah.
The old school way, in live, in person, out there on the beat, on the ground, boots on the ground, if you will. And being able to do that. And then the second part of that is, like I said, I'm going live. Like right now, we're doing pre-record, but I'll actually be going live. And when I'm going live, I'm trying to do that 30 minutes to the draft. I think draft kicks off at 8, so I'll start that at 7:30 and try to keep it at least till midway going through, where I can give myself enough time to wrap up and get back to actually do the next pre-recorded, which will be our immediate reaction at midnight episode. But I will be doing a live one there, and then I want to catch the reaction of the Titans fans that I'll be around once the selection is made, and then I can kind of talk to them about their response and reaction to it. And hopefully it could be some of the people that I may have interviewed earlier, so I can go from who do you think we'll pick to how do you feel about who we picked, and kind of blend those two with the same person. But nonetheless, it's going to be amazing. It's going to be awesome. And, I can't wait. Can't wait, man. Next week, Pittsburgh, coming to you, taking over, man. Take them towels back. No black and yellow. It's going to be blue and blue. Blue and blue, no Jazz players, baby. We coming down. But no, it's going to be all love. I think it'll be a great environment. But with that being said, man, look, it's been great having Jackson again, man. We're really building this two-tone takeover network, man. The more of you all that want to be a part of this, let's do it. Let's crowd the internet. Let's flood it. If you got something that you do, let them know. Go ahead and just shout it out while you're on here, man. Let the people know where they can find your stuff at and where they can see it before I finish it up.
Yeah, Titan Report, Titan_reports on X is where I post content in the week. Instagram, same thing. YouTube, Titan Report Podcast. That's where I post weekly episodes, recap, draft stuff, all that good stuff. We actually, since this show is going out, we are going to make articles. I have my own website. It's coming out pretty soon. We're going to make some articles and get that out there hopefully by the weekend. So mock and all that stuff. I'm writing one right now. And funny enough, I just did one about linebackers. We're going to do one about number 4. So a lot more stuff coming out to rebrand the channel. But the website, hopefully I'll get that done tonight. But very excited for it. So those are stuff that's coming to this channel very soon.
Yeah, let me know, man. I wouldn't mind putting a piece or 2 on there, man.
Yeah.
You know, could publish that and put it out there or whatever, man. Like I said, that's what it's about. It's about networking. It's a network. It's not if it's competition, it's friendly, you know. That's how we keep it. We support each other, we keep it going, and we make it great for everyone that's in the fan base and everyone that's involved. But nonetheless, with all that being said, I want to appreciate everyone for tapping in and rocking out with us, man. This was a great press conference to cover, and I'm glad we were able to break it down into segments and piece by piece so that we can really get a perspective from our standpoint. Probably you all have very similar sentiments, but what other way to do it than to break it down the Bandit way? And thank you. Thank you for watching and being a part of this journey, because we're really building something special over here, a place for Titans fans to pull up, speak up, and feel at home. So I want you to help me get the word out so more of the Two-Tone family can do the same, because everyone is welcome. Everyone is welcome. I want everyone to have a voice, and I want your opinion to be heard. If you enjoyed this, do me a solid like, share, subscribe, and follow. Catch me on Twitter, IG, and TikTok at the Two-Tone Bandit. Let me know how you feel down below. I'll be checking back soon. TTFU all day, baby. I'm the Two-Tone Bandit, and we are out of here. Appreciate you. Tighten up. Be safe.